Hello, welcome to Waiting for Game, a podcast presented by Melee Stats. I'm your host, Gimme Dat Wheat, and we call ourselves a bi-weekly show, despite the fact that we did like 6 episodes week to week to week. So we're coming off of a 2 week break. I know we're kind of breaking our bi-weekly promise, but that just means we got a lot to talk about. And we have a lot to talk about with a really great guest. But before we get to them, I have to talk about my good friend, my roommate for a few days, my wonderful the representative, Melee Stats representative to the world when it comes to Millionaire. Talking to Edwin Buddy. Edwin, what's going on, man?
I'm really excited to talk about Shine and everything that's coming up. I can concur that I was indeed a wonderful roommate, and Wheat was a wonderful roommate as well. We were both we were both great representatives of Melee Stats at the event. We had Wheat out on the sales floor, like getting so many people to buy Melee Stats shirts. You had me on stage. You had Ambi running around our players, making sure that everything was going great. I just really had a blast.
I did that too. But,
yeah,
but
well,
go on.
Yeah, I guess we all did that a little bit, but yeah, it's just really great to be at the event. It's always one of my favorites to go to every year, both just because I see a lot of my friends typically there, a lot of people that I know in the Northeast are there every year. I also get to play a lot of friendlies. I think Shine is the ultimate major to go to if you just love getting games of Melee with other people in and out of bracket. And I gotta say, you're right, Wheat. One of the highlights of my Shine was getting to host Millionaire on the big stage and having a wonderful contestant like our special guest over here, Axe. I'm not going to ask you how Millionaire was for you. I know you had an amazing time. Of course, you had an amazing time. I was a great host. I was charming. I was welcoming and all that stuff. But I want to ask you for today, how you're feeling entering the show, man. This is your first appearance on a Melee Stats podcast.
Yeah. Not too bad. What's up, by the way?
How's it going?
Yeah. I mean, this cool. I haven't been on one of these before, so like this is cool for the first time. And about Millionaire, yeah, I had a good time. And dude, those questions were a lot harder than I thought they would be, by the way. And I feel like this could be just my intuition or something. But when I was about to get the last one wrong, I could feel that you were just like, no, that's not the right answer. You probably weren't doing it on purpose, but I felt it. And I'm like, wait, oh man, this might not be right. But it was fun.
Say,
it was fun.
If I can admit something, I wanted you to go far. Like I was emitting very intense energy, as I do with any human being in the world, friend or someone I just met for the first time, and just who I am. But I definitely was trying to channel some kind of positive intensity in your direction, not negative.
Okay. So I did feel that, man, dude. But it was fun. I mean, I had a blast. It was cool. Magi's was funny too. I watched her, like her run at it too. But yeah, it was
you want
cool.
her to win?
Professor Pro, those two, they've both been around forever.
Wait, what
Edwin,
did
you want her to win too, or was it just Axe?
It was just Axe. No, I'm just I'm kidding. I want. So here's the way. So just if I can share sort of a glimpse into my mind when it comes to this stuff. My philosophy generally with this stuff is that I think that it's always better to have the contestant go further because you kind of set the stakes further and like it's more content for the stream. But the one exception is if it's funny, if they got something wrong, right? So let's say you got the Big House 4 question wrong. That would have been kind of funny because you mentioned in your answer, you said, I know at one of the old big houses that Kells eliminated me. And that was the exact
Was that the one?
Talking about.
I actually didn't know that was the one. That's funny.
I had to keep a straight face when you were saying that because the moment you said that, it hit me. I was like, oh my god, Axe was there. He has to know who was commentating.
Yeah, I mean, it is. You're right. You're right. I mean, first off, you did admit to messing with the competitive integrity of your game, and I think that any tournament that wishes to have you on, that's rigged. But other than that, yeah, I mean, it is a very fun thing. I think you're right. It is really funny if someone if someone goes out early, it does have to be funny. Like, let's say, just making something up. For instance, if someone didn't know the color of Fox's boots in the green palette, Axe, do you know by any chance? Just quick pop quiz.
What's the question?
What color does Green Fox? What color are his boots?
they say that he's Christmas Fox. So so I know it's like red and green.
Damn, look at that perfect millionaire answer. Just like push,
Can you
like
imagine
just
if someone used a
making the
lifeline
whole
on
thing
that?
longer, just like beefing it up. Great answer.
Well,
I can see
that's
why
the
you were the
problem.
guest.
Like I feel like my melee knowledge is pretty high, but like historical stuff, like who commentated what tournament, I'm like, I can't remember. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you did great. I was actually watching our crews, I believe. I was watching the Melee Stats crew, and I wasn't able to catch all the questions, but I'm sure you did great. And here's one thing I know you did great, and I know you did great in bracket. And we're obviously going to talk about that. But before we do, Edwin Budding, should we tell? We had a special guest in our hotel the other night. Which, would you like to reveal?
I'll let you tell it, because I think you have the way you built the story up, like in the moment when it was happening, and my reaction, and then what you said back in response. I feel like you have a very good handle on the general vibe in the room, what our interactions were like, and what happened when this special top player entered the room.
Now, I want to be clear. I'm not one to kiss and tell. But no one actually was kissing. Wait, actually, people were kissing that night. That
Yeah,
was
let's
weird.
not
Okay, let's not
into
get
that.
into that.
I'm kind of worried to hear
But
about this story, whatever this is.
I am not one to tell stories like this. But so the Melee Stats room recently, as of late, has been ripe for parties for some reason. We
It's your
have
fault. It's not me.
no,
or
it's
Andy.
truly not. I think we're like hey, I love Ambi, I love Edwin. I think we're kind of three of the lamest dudes out there. But our room at Genesis turned into a party. Our producer JD was there. He could attest to this. And Shine, we a couple people come over just to hang out. That's what you do. And then suddenly we're getting more people. And then I hear a question that becomes infamous as soon as it leaves Walt's mouth. Turn down for Walt, goes to me, and he says, "Do you think it'd be okay if HBox came?"
Oh boy.
And so, if you've been a fan of this podcast, I feel like I've given HBox a hard time for certain decisions. Honestly, at events I've seen him, I don't think it translates to in-person stuff. But we have a bunch of people in the room already. It's honestly like, you know, getting to the point where like this impromptu party is kind of getting a little uncomfortable.
There's like 5 different friend groups in here, by the way. I'm not going to go
I
name by name, but I'm going to say Melee Stats crew. There's Melee Stats patrons. There's people from New Hampshire in there. There's Austin Melee in there. There's the Panda people in there. We're
it's
talking like if Smash or if Melee is kind of like this big universe or whatever, there's all these different galaxies all conspiring in this room, and it's getting louder and louder and later in the night. And this, my friend, was just the it was already like we were already getting scared when again,
yeah.
I'm not on the kiss and tell, but when Ringler was in the room, but then when the almighty H God himself waltzes in, that's truly
Well, so I mean, before he waltzes in, so uh, Walt asked me this question, and I have met him in passing, working events. I've talked to him at stuff like just making conversation, but I wouldn't say I really know him that well. And I also think that out of the people there, was one of the people who know him the best. So if that's a situation, it doesn't seem like maybe he fits. Um, but a couple beers in, and I get a devilish glint in my eye, and I say yes, invite him.
Is this just like
And word
is this
starts
just
to
one
spread
regular
around this
hotel
hotel
room?
room. The 15 people or so in this hotel room, like word is starting to spread. And Edwin walks up to me, fearful, and he goes, "Wait, you didn't invite HBox, did you? Right, you didn't invite HBox." And then I go, "Well, I didn't invite him." And then you didn't invite him, right? Just like he knows the answer deep down, but is hoping against hope that the truth is revealed in a different way. And before I can even say anything in response to this, the door opens up, and we see the Spider-Man Team Liquid jersey. And I look at Edwin. Edwin's so scared at this moment, and I taunt him, and I say, "I'm gonna dap him up." And it was more to like, I don't know. scare Edwin than anything. I think I wanted to like put more fear into him, and I dapped him up, and he was a good sport about it. But yeah, that was a very fun experience. That was a very interesting experience. I will say, I don't know how many people are in these hotel rooms parties that we've been throwing. The big house, we're not gonna do it. This is
Yeah,
insane. We got a
no
noise
more. It
complaint.
was out of control.
No more. But it was a very fun event, and yeah, I mean, Edwin, like you mentioned, we had a really great time, even outside the hotel room at the event itself. It was a super fun event. Melee Stats merch, wearing it right now. We sold out of 2 of our items, and almost sold out of this one that I'm wearing right now, the Melee Stats flag hoodie. So it was an incredible experience. Our players did great. I really want to talk about your run here, but we had someone knocking on the door of your place, and we had Grab came in at 9th place, got to play on Sunday, and the Swedish players 33rd apiece, very impressive. I got to watch Sharp go up 2-0 on Spark, so that was a little bit of a heartbreaker. And the one thing I want to say about Sharp's run, they did great. They placed a seed. they they go up 2-0 on Spark and just kind of, get nickel and dimed games 3 through 5 to end up losing, getting reverse 3-0. And Lunar Dusk, after Grab gets secured place in Sunday, Lunar Dusk, the Ices player, who now sponsored by Melee Stats, walks up to Sharp and goes, "Man, you should have cleaned up those edge guards." And I'm just like, "No, you can't say that. They got reverse 3-0." And Lunar goes, "Oh my god, I thought you were Grab." So it's I don't know. The Melee Stats merch is so nice that even when you're talking to someone, you can't even make eye contact. Your eyes just go to the merch. But yeah, I before we talk about your wonderful run here, Axe, I do just want to mention shout outs to all of our Melee Stats people. And then we have Abe and Sharp are going to be playing at Riptide, and Lunar is making his first appearance under the Melee Stats banner here at Riptide. So we'll maybe talk about their ability to have a good run here. But there was someone who did have a good run. No ifs, ands, or buts. We've been subjecting you to weird stories about HBox. But Axe, you are here. You are a guest. I want to hear about what your expectations for this were. This is I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. I think it was a bit of a weird year for someone who is looking at kind of what's going on with you. You are the, what is it, 29? You're the 29th ranked player in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, they call me Mr. 29.
Mr. 29, of
Yeah.
course. But yeah, so going into this, obviously, there's the idea of, what's kind of going on with Axe. Can Axe make it back to the whatever? And obviously you've showed your stuff in the past couple tournaments, but kind of, can you give us like a brief overview of what kind of what's been going on for the past year, and I guess what specifically kind of changed in terms of SmashCon and Shine?
Yeah, so man, I'm trying to think like how do I
It's a
even
big
start
push.
this? So pretty much when the pandemic hit and everything moved to online, I just got like not really motivated anymore. Like I just didn't practice as hard or anything because online, I guess as everything moved to online, like my passion for competing just kind of dropped some. So I wasn't grinding like I should be. So I feel like my play was kind of just like stagnant, if you will, maybe down a little bit. And then of course the competition just skyrocketed because of Slippy, right? So yeah, as tournaments started to come back, I'm like, okay, let's just try to jump back into this, right? And I did, and everyone's really good. Like the level of competition just jumped up so much, like it's crazy. And like, yeah, I kind of took a beating, and I'm like, dude, like everyone's just insane right now. And so I think that really made me want to take it seriously again and like really focus on just grinding, getting better at the game and stuff. Early throughout the year, I actually, so before Genesis, I had an injury. Like I injured my thumb, so I couldn't play Melee for a couple of months, and it kind of healed just in time for Genesis. So I went to Genesis Pound and then Low Tide City, but I went into it with like not really much prep, and that was tough. But after I came back, I'm just like, I really want to grind and get better and compete at the highest level because I really think that I can. Like I always thought that I could, and yeah, I worked hard at it. And come CEO and Gommel, I ended up getting COVID, so I
Oh.
had to skip out on those ones. So I had to wait all the way until SmashCon. But during that whole time, I've been practicing a ton, like really taking it seriously, actually preparing. And it seems like it's paying off so far. So I'm happy about that. But throughout the past year, that's kind of been like my journey, my struggle of trying to get back on top of competition.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just kind of watching you go through these tournaments and play has been very it's been very interesting, very cathartic. I think in a way, and so we asked to have you on because you're kind of one of the I don't know. This is call it a comeback story if you want, whatever. But seeing you play recently has been one of the more fun things in Melee. So we thought you'd be a great guest. We've never had you on. Now, what happened when we announced was that I get so many messages in the Patron channel of our Discord. I get DMs from people, uh, and they're like, "You're going to talk about locals, right? You're going to talk about locals." So at some point, I want to talk about rankings. I want to talk about locals. But before we get into that, let's kind of go through your run at Shine because I think that you were. Hmm, I think that a lot of people were underestimating your run here. Obviously you had a very hard person in Slug, and Edwin, can you attest to this? I have been gassing up Axe recently. I've been seeing what people are saying. I've seen this 29th shit, um, and I had to stand up. I said that this is a guy. I think he's going to get back in the top 20. And I do want to mention. Do you know? Here's a fun question. Do you know who was ranked 29th on the summer rank in 2019? Any
See,
guesses?
if this was like a Millionaire question, I would totally butcher it. I need a lifeline.
I'll tell you, it was none. None was
Oh,
ranked 29th. I guess where he was ranked 15th at the end of the year. I definitely think that there is some there's like some what have you done for me lately type of stuff when it comes to the summer rank. But I was saying, yeah, he's not out. He's coming back. And then I had a little bit of a secret is that I thought you were gonna beat Slug. Everyone's out here saying, man, Slug's gonna beat Axe. Slug's gonna play Zayn to get a. I'm kind of thinking to myself, I'm a little scared to say it. I'm like, I think he's gonna beat Slug. And before the set starts, Panda Tish is sitting next to me and kind of he is a very busy man in terms of Smash. He's a very all around guy. Obviously, PG Stats does a lot of work with Ultimate, so I think that he does probably know more about Ultimate than Melee, but still knows a lot about Melee. And he sat next to me and he said, "What do you think about this?" And I was like, "Tish, it's gonna sound weird. Don't be surprised if Axe wins." I really had faith, and I want to hear what got you to this spot. I don't want to obviously talk over your entire story, but I had a
man.
specific set that I remembered from your Riptide run. I think it was you versus Fluid for like 49th or something.
Uh-huh.
And I saw that obviously a skill discrepancy, and I think the tall tales of this matchup being kind of something that Axe wants to avoid. I think it might be a little overblown. So I want to talk to you about this matchup specifically. Edwin, do you have anything? Because I don't know. Were you as confident in Axe versus Slug as I was, or is I just kind of a prophet
No,
here,
I'll
Edwin?
tell I'll tell you the truth. I thought Slug into J-Mook. I thought that was the bracket from hell. I thought, oh my god, it's Axe against the best ice climbers player in the world. Pikachu ice climbers is historically a matchup that's just been very difficult for Pikachu with it and without wobbling. Now J-Mook, if there's a player that's defined 2022 melee, one of the biggest rising stars in the scene, it's got to be him. I thought like when it comes to like the 29th in the world rank or whatever, I think it's always important to mention that like a ranking is an assessment of a period of results and how that stacks up against other results, right? So number 29 in the world, I think if you asked me before SmashCon, are there 28 better players in Melee than Axe? I would have said no. No, like Axe, this is someone who's like always been at the top level, right? But if you ask me, are there 28 players with better resumes in the first, like from April to July or whatever than Axe, I would have said, yeah, it was a scary time. But I'll tell you what the turning point for me was. It was right at the end of the set with Slug, where I thought, oh my god, Axe is playing amazing. That was when I saw J-Mook's name, suddenly it hit me. I thought, oh my god, like I just had a sneaking suspicion, and like I remember someone was sitting next to me. I think it was Seal, it may have been someone else, and I said, I have this weird. I think Axe is going to destroy him. Like I don't know what it is in my body. Like, before that Slug set, I thought, oh, this is gonna be really hard even if you beat Slug. Like J-Mook is such a barrier. And I just had a sneaking suspicion. It wasn't that you were gonna win. I just had a suspicion. I was like, he's gonna destroy J-Mook. Like it's just gonna happen in the first set. And I gotta say, I think game 2 of that set is literally the best I've ever seen you play in my life. I can't think of another time where I saw like Pikachu moving across the screen like as fast as the way you moved in that set. I actually during top 8, Slug was sitting in the row ahead of me, and he was talking about playing you, right? And Slug, very friendly guy. He was very inebriated at the time. Also, he was like, "Bro, Axe moves so fast. How is he faster than Swift on box? This makes no sense. I played against Pikachu before. What is going on here?" And he just couldn't stop talking about it. He was just in complete bewilderment. So yeah, I mean, like I'd love to break down your thoughts on the Slug set. I'd love to like gauge your thoughts on how you felt, with your first set in J-Mook, how the second set went, and how you want to like prepare for that moving forward. I just think there's so much to talk about with those two in particular, because again, like I think those two heading into the event, those are two players that I thought, oh my god, like if Axe wants to repeat a performance like SmashCon, like I don't know if these two might be among his toughest opponents. And you just like you beat Slug pretty convincingly, and frankly with J-Mook you beat him like probably harder than anyone else this year. So I mean, wherever you want to start, go ahead.
Man, I mean, even I didn't think I'd beat Slug, honestly.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't. Just because I've been training a lot, like just practicing leading up to these events, to both SmashCon and Shine. So I did think that I was going to do better than what most people thought, understandably so, because I haven't been doing well throughout this year. So you just look at that and it's just like, okay, Axe probably isn't going to do that well. But like from my perspective, I'm like, I feel like I had a handicap early on throughout the year. Like a lot went wrong. And now I'm finally like really on the grind, improving, and I can feel it. Like I feel like I'm getting back to my zone. So I'm like, I think I'm probably going to be better than what most people think. But Slug in particular, I did not practice at all against ice climbers. So of course I'm just kind of like, oh man, I'm definitely worried about this. He's like an insanely good ice climbers right now. It's actually pretty mind blowing. I remember watching him come up on net play, and I was just at awe of him beating these top players without wobbling, by the way, which is ridiculous. Yeah. So when I saw that I had to match up against him, I thought that I could win, maybe. But I'm just thinking, man, I'm just going to try my best and see what I can do here and stay focused. I think one thing that did help me some was I played an online set with Chudat in tournament. And
I remember that.
Yeah. And before I had to play with Slug, I really just meditated a lot. Like I meditated and I was thinking about that set with Chudat. And I'm like, what did I do during my set with Chudat that was good, that worked against ice climbers? And so I thought about that. They do play very different. I would say Slug is a lot more in your face than Chudat. Chudat will legit just sit back, throw ice blocks. I don't know what that guy's doing. But yeah, I don't know. I felt like at the start of the set, I was getting him with a lot of things. I was just moving fast and doing a lot of call outs. It was working well, but I did feel that the longer we played the set, the further we went on, the better he was doing. He was kind of adapting to me. And then he ended up edging out game 3, and game 4 was going on, and that went down to the wire. And I thought to myself, if I lose this game 4, he's going to win game 5. I just knew it. I just kind of felt it. I think that if we went game 5, he would have won. So luckily, I did close it out there, game 4. But I think that I need to focus a lot more on the Ice Climbers matchup, in preparation of him in the future, because he's just insane and he's very adaptive. I think it's going to be way harder next time. But yeah, that was my set with Slug. I also wasn't sure if I would be playing Slug because right before that he was playing with Calvar in the tournament bracket, and I don't think that was streamed or anything or recorded or anything, but there was actually like a kind of big crowd for it. It went game 5 down to the wire. It was anyone's game and it was intense. And a part of me was like nervous to play Calvar even. Like I'm good against Marth, but the way he was playing, I'm like, dude, like he was doing some crazy stuff. But yeah, Slug ended up clutching that out. So J-Mook next, right? I had a feeling I would do well versus J-Mook because I didn't think he would have that much experience against Pikachu. And so I'm thinking, man, I could probably just do some Pikachu jank and he might not know how to deal with it because it's different at top level. And I don't know what kind of Pikachu experience he has. So I went into it like kind of confident and just I felt calm. I was okay. And yeah, I mean, he clearly didn't know what to do. I was hitting him with stuff that I really shouldn't be hitting him with. I mean, that's how I felt anyway. I know that a lot of Sheiks who are lower level than him do much, much better versus me, I guess because they have a lot more Pikachu experience. And, me just naring at them doesn't work. But it did against J-Mook. So I'm like, man, he just doesn't really know what to do. That's what I feel like. It's like an experience thing. Mm-hmm. But what was insane was my rematch with him. How the heck did what did he do overnight? Like, man, it was completely different. I think it could be a difference of him just playing better. And I'm guessing maybe he watched our set and he's like, okay, this is what I should be doing next time. And he executed it. And man, that was crazy. And I don't know, I just give a lot of credit to these new players, especially someone like J-Mook who can adapt that fast. And it's exciting, honestly. Like I'm excited to play these newer school players who are at the top, because this talk of like my hardest matchups being like Slug and J-Mook and the winners bracket going up, like these players were not really in the talks before the pandemic or anything. So this is all new to me. And I think it's really cool and exciting just to have new top players in the game.
For sure. So you mentioned, what changed overnight. Now I don't know what happened, but there was a difference from Saturday night had a difference when it came to Pikachu practice in that there was one player who was not there for the rest of the tournament. And of course, I'm talking about Swift. Zayn flew out Swift for Pikachu practice that night. Just like, I don't know. Did he leave like Sunday? I don't even know what it was, but he doesn't attend this tournament. The top top 26 player in the world, I believe. And he doesn't attend. He literally only gets flown out for practice. And we have to talk about this Zayn set and how much of that do you think had to deal with that, or was there more to go on when it comes to something like this?
A decent amount. Like I think he had a pretty decent impact on that because J-Mook was warming up with Swift for quite a while before we had to play me. So I'm sure that helped. It helps him to fight against like another top Pikachu. I did feel like it was even more than that though.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now what about the guy who flew him out?
That's cheating, dude. I can't believe that. Man, that's insane. Like you gotta think like who would do that? Like this is kind of unheard of, kind of. I think players like Armada, Mewtwo King, they would fly out another top puff player to play against Hungry Box. So
For the event.
yes, for the event. And
Like,
this
for the
is like
whole event.
this is like planned beforehand. You know, they talk about it, they leading up to it, they raise the money, all that sort of stuff. Zayn literally did it on the spot the same night. Like zero planning, is just like, I'm flying out Swift right now. That's wild. That's just wild. And you know, obviously it did pay off because he won the set, and that might have made the difference. Who knows? But yeah, it's definitely a lot different playing Zayn now than it was a couple years ago. Because the last time I played him in person was 2019, I believe.
Yeah, wow.
And he's got a lot of new stuff. It felt different playing him this time, but I don't know. I can't help but to feel like I can still take him. It's like way harder now, but I still think that I could win versus him, but I have zero faith that it's going to get to the point where it was back then, where I would literally win every time. Like, he's just too good. He's gotten way too good. I'm never going to win like every set versus him, but I feel like I could have the advantage maybe if I work on it a lot. I have a lot of ideas. I want to like see how far I can improve myself, because I think a long-term goal that I have right now is to be even higher ranked than I've ever been before, which was 4th. So I want to see if I can make it further than that. But that's kind of my long-term goal. I don't think that's going to happen like this year or anything. But I want to see if I can do it. That's just kind of like a challenge I have for myself.
For sure. I think that's definitely something that'll be fun to look out for. And you know, you mentioned Zayn. I think J-Mook, I think Slug, all these players who we've been mentioning, honestly, it just seems like going down the line, it's going to be more interesting stuff to look out for. Like, I don't think that any of these are foregone conclusions in any way. And when it comes to the top level of Melee, when you get like, you know, sets like that, that's always a fun thing to watch. Now, Edwin Budding, you are a Marth main. You are such a Marth main that you have a sweatshirt that says Marth main on it. What were your predictions going into this set? How worried were you for your champion Zayn?
It was great hosting Millionaire with you.
Oh no.
Seemed like a friendly guy in person. Met you a couple times now. The whole I was sitting next to Grab. I think it was. I was sitting next to Grab, or I was sitting next to Chroma. Words, Zayn loses. Zayn loses. It's just never gonna happen. Axe is never gonna lose matchup. I kept saying something along the lines of Marth's just never gonna be Pikachu. Axe is never gonna lose. He's unstoppable. I kept saying this the entire set until like the very end, where I literally popped off harder for a Marth player finally beating Pikachu, let alone, you know, obviously yourself, right? So I have to admit, I just wanted one. I needed to know it was possible for the Marth clan in the 2020s. It was but I thought the set looked very close. I'm really excited to see how like the two of you do against each other moving forward. I think in a weird way, like it's going to lead to a lot more exciting development of the meta, because like because there's going to be a Marth player who's able to kind of push that side of the matchup a lot, like as far as people have been talking about for the last 10 years. And I have to say, like, you know, you were like, you know, that's something to be proud of, you know, frankly, like being the final boss for an entire character in the meta game. Like that's nothing. That's like, you know, that's something that you have in like your legacy, right? Which I think is really cool. And I think it'll be really cool to like see that develop further on both ends of the matchup, obviously, and like seeing you two as players representing different eras too. But what did I think Zayn was gonna win? No, I was very scared. I think anyone who told you confidently how that set was gonna turn out beforehand was lying to themselves. And I think anyone who confidently says, "Oh, I think this player's got it in the bag," like in their next set, I think they're lying also. I think we've kind of reached a new stage in this head-to-head and in this character-specific matchup where the future is really exciting for it. And yeah, that's all I have to say as far as Zayn versus Pikachu, Zayn versus Axe goes. I do think that this victory from Zayn, just as a whole, was really big for him.
Yeah.
we obviously he had to play you. Historically, like probably his toughest opponent ever. He had to play Hungrybox, who we've seen him beat a lot of this year, but losing their last set could have opened up a new phase in their rivalry. And we saw him snap a long losing streak to J-Mook
His
to
slump,
also,
as
yeah.
we called it, as we got so much mileage off of. How many episodes did we do talking about is Zayn slumping when he lost like 2 events in a row? That was fun.
Well, to be fair, it was like five or six, but
It
yeah,
got to that point. We started wringing content out of that pretty early. But yeah,
fair enough.
Edwin, I think you're right. This did snap his losing streak. And obviously, to be clear to anyone who's listening, um, the reason why we like refer to this as a slump or anything is because Zayn's results in the past 2 years have legitimately been on the level of like some of the best stretches of Melee that we've seen. Whether or not you want to count online is a whole different thing, but it's hard to discount someone who was winning as much as he was. So yeah, losing 5 events is something where like you might call that a slump. But yeah, it's great to see him get back to number one. We were in the hotel room because I got really hungry. I was like hangry. I was like, we have to go back to the hotel room and order food. We got Taco Bell. It was great. And we were watching on the laptop, Edwin's laptop, and you were cheering for Zayn, and I was like, dude, if J-Mook wins this, it'll be his first major, and you're like, shut up, I need Zayn to win. So it was a very exciting major for everyone, of course, but yeah, great to see him back on top. Definitely a storyline that we've been looking out for. Can Zayn get back to his placements number one, and to see him do it in a tournament where he had to beat J-Mook, where he had to beat Axe. Yeah, that was very good. Axe, really quickly talking about Zayn. You mentioned him coming with new stuff. Is there any like thing in particular that you mentioned, or that like whenever your next set happens, something that people can look out for? Because I do think that this idea of him practicing and always coming to with new stuff is really interesting. But I feel like it's kind of hard for players who or like people who are just watching to pick up all the intricacies. Is there something that he's been doing new recently? Like anything specific?
Well, the thing with Zayn, um, man, it's interesting. By the way, I wish my slump was that good. That's him slumping. Got to be kidding me. Um, it's so Marth is one of my most practiced matchups.
Mhm.
I just have like years of experience with Marth playing against like the Arizona Marths, especially Ty. Ty's like the big one who I've trained with for like many years, and I just got really good at the matchup. And no Marth has really been able to challenge me until finally Zayn's coming along, and it's someone who I had like a win streak on Zayn for a long time, but he basically grinded out the matchup really hard against Pikachu because of Swift, and he did that for
Mhm.
years as well. And now it's finally at the point where there's finally another Marth as practiced in the matchup as I am, and that hasn't happened before. So it's I think because of that, since he has like all that experience and I have the Marth experience, I think our sets are going to be very competitive from here on out. And man, it's I don't know. I get pretty excited thinking about it.
Yeah.
I like the challenge. I think it's cool. And also, like Edwin, I'm also happy with the Zayn victory. I'm actually a Zayn fan. I'm like, oh, let's go, dude. Yeah, he's dope. I like Zayn just because it's his attitude, really. I think he has a really good mindset, or I guess what he displays, like his attitude towards winning or losing. He can
Mhm.
be pretty humble compared to the rest of the top players anyway. And when he loses, he's not like a massive joner. He's just like, okay, I gotta get back and work on this and uh, try to win next time. And that's what he does. And I have like the utmost respect for that. And that's what he's been doing for Pikachu. Just putting in the time to actually get better at the matchup. Because I fight a lot of Marths, and whenever I win, it's usually like, oh, it's just Pikachu cheese and like that kind of stuff. But someone's actually taking it very seriously now and worked for years to make it happen. And I think that's dope. Like that's cool. And so in the future now, I think it's gonna since we're both very practiced in the matchup, I think it comes down to studying about what to do against each other for our specific player
Mhm.
habits. It's not just fighting Marth or fighting Pikachu. It's about what kind of habits does Zayn have that I can take advantage of, or what kind of habits do I have that Zayn can take advantage of, and going to be a whole bunch of adapting and going back and forth. Uh, I think that's what's going to happen in our sets moving forward.
Well, that's gonna be really fun to see because when you're able to kind of um, just transcend the matchups, I think that that's where some of the best melee comes out. So I'm really looking forward to that. And before I want to congratulate you on your run. The thing I really want to congratulate you on is that you came in here, you're very gracious, coming into doing our podcast, and you said, guys, I've got bad internet. It might cut out. Um,
I cut
your
out.
internet didn't cut out yet.
Oh,
It was Edwin Budding. Edwin Budding's internet cut out.
oh, is he
So
gone right
you
now?
outlasted him. So that's the big congratulations. Edwin, did you know that? You had this whole diatribe about how you thought that Zayn would get washed, and it was just like robot garble.
That's saddening to hear. But that was basically my reaction on the spot as that was happening.
Robotically
It's kind of
crying,
fitting.
yes. um well, yeah, that's, I mean, so much insight there. I think that's I think you're right on everything. It's gonna be so interesting to watch all these things come together. And I appreciate just like, you know, going into details on the recent success that you've been having. Um
Thank you. One
'Cause-
thing that I am happy about, by the way,
yeah,
is that I got to play him now, and that I didn't play him like half a year ago or earlier, because I'm pretty sure I would have got super washed at that time because I just wasn't like very practiced or in the right mindset. And I'm just happy to have an actual competitive set with him when I'm actually uh, doing better right now. So
true.
I think it's better. Like, it feels better that his first win on me is when I'm actually in practice and like on point and stuff. So like, I think that's cool because it probably would have been kind of shallow if I just got super washed and, maybe I wasn't playing very well and stuff. So,
Hey, speaking of
I'm
not playing
happy it
that
happened the
well,
way it did.
yeah, no, I think it was great. I think yeah, you're completely right. The fact that it happened with such a great set is just, I mean, that's good melee. Um, but hey, talking about people not playing well, I think we're going to move on from Shine very quickly. But we didn't mention J-Mook beat H-Box, right? Am I making that up? Like, I think I saw that happen. And yet we're here almost an hour into the show and did not mention this. It was a 3-0, right? That's
That
crazy. That is
comeback
something
he
I
had
want to
on
see.
game 3 is going to be like that has to be considered one of the craziest like single game comebacks ever.
It's so odd that J-Mook, maybe this is my own personal circle, but it's so odd that J-Mook just does shit like this and people go, yeah, this is about right. This makes sense to me. Like, his rise is meteoric. Whatever he gets ranked at the end of the year, I assume is probably going to be top 5 or so. The person who's debuted the highest as it currently stands on a top 100 is Bananas at 19, and that was like crazy. Like, to be in the top 20, he's going to debut in the top 5, and I feel like everything he does, it just becomes like normalized immediately, and they're like, yeah, oh yeah, J-Mook. Yeah, J-Mook, yeah, he reversed 3-0'd Zayn twice. Yeah, that sounds about right. Like, so I think him 3-0 H-Box honestly didn't get maybe as much fanfare as you would think. And I will be a part of that issue by not bringing it up until an hour in. But that is something that I want to see. Obviously, H-Box. Hey, he walked up to me, asked if I had any water. And I'm like, I got nothing, man. So maybe I'm the reason for that loss. So I want to watch that going forward. But we'll move on from Shine. We've got a lot of other stuff to talk about. And Axe, like I mentioned, we have a bonus thing here. This was not planned, but I got the DMs, I got the messages, and they said, you got to talk about locals. You got to talk about rankings. So we've been talking about rankings for a little bit because that is kind of the hot topic in the community with the rankings getting released. I have an episode of Radio Melee where I talk about the rankings, and through it, I kind of talk about how it's perceived and what can be done better. And honestly, I think one of the biggest things is communication. And so I want to open this up. and I know my fans want us to like roast each other, but we'll see. Maybe we'll get there. I want to open it up because I want to, however quick you want it to be, or if you want it to be longer, because we obviously have other stuff to talk about. I want to hear about your thoughts on rankings in general, and then kind of like the specifics of what is done well, what can be done better. Because I don't know if you know this, we both have ballots, me and Edwin. We both to some extent work on the MPGR. We're obviously not like creating all the rules or anything, but we do have like jobs within the MPGR when it comes out. So just being able to talk to someone who is obviously affected by it, I feel like it's makes for good conversation. So I guess we've been asking you a lot of big, long questions, but my question to you would be, what do you currently like about the rankings, and what do you think needs to be changed?
I mean, I like that the rankings exist.
Okay, there. Hey, that's great. We're off to a great start.
It's a good starting point.
Yeah. I mean, because there hasn't been rankings for a long time,
Yeah.
for a couple of years, I think. Now, I do think that the ranking period was like too short to actually put out a ranking. That's how I feel about it. But this is kind of just me saying it without looking into what exactly the ranking period was. Like, that's just how I feel. I feel like there wasn't enough events to properly rank people. But I think I also understand that if there was no ranking put out now, then there just wouldn't be a ranking at all until the end of the year, and we kind of want to put something out, right? Like, that's kind of my understanding of it. But I don't know, like what can I even say about it? Like, I like that they exist. I like that they're a thing. I like that you can look at this list, especially for sponsors, and they could be like, these are the best players right now. And I find it exciting to climb up the rankings as someone ranked low. So that's a perspective that I have right now. And something negative about the rankings? Hold on, let me think about this. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I want to ask you guys, like, is there like a common complaint about the rankings or something like that?
Edwin, should we bring up the L word here?
I think it's time to bring up the L word. Axe. I'm going to bring up the L word. There's one common complaint I've heard from many top players. I'm talking top 10, top 20. I'm even talking just any player who's made top 100. It's the biggest controversy that happens every year. And I never quite seem to understand it just as a panelist myself. Because for me, I've always had a very clear way of how I evaluate these things. But if you want to always start a rankings discussion on Twitter or Reddit or wherever it is,
there's one simple word.
What would you say?
There's one simple word that'll do it. If you want to start discussion, one word does it.
It's locals. So Axe,
okay.
Your legacy goes without saying. You've been ranked on the top 100 and the top 20 and the top 10 multiple times.
On the top 100 all time.
Yeah, you're literally as of last year, you were the 12th greatest player ever. You have
officially
so many tournaments that you've been to in your life. And one of the things that you've talked about before, that many top players talk about, is this idea of what counts and what doesn't count, right? And I think the reason this is such an interesting conversation is because I think if you asked everyone individually what they thought count, you're not always going to get people counting you're not always going to get people counting the same event the same way, right? And I think locals are a very interesting distillation of that, right? So if you could, just from your perspective, I want you to share the sort of what's going through your mind if you went to a Fantastic Mana Works or something, right? Like what does a top Melee player and Melee streamer, what are the pros and cons of attending locals in your mind, and how does that kind of feed into this this idea of rankings and how they can impact your career? Like what are your goals, what are your fears? Just kind of get me in the general mind space that you have when it comes to being the pros, cons, or the worries you have about attending locals or regional tournaments.
And you guys really got your work cut out for you, because there's no easy answer to say what counts, right? Like there's no definitive okay, this one's going to count and this one doesn't. Maybe this one wasn't large enough, or maybe this one didn't have enough top players. Why shouldn't it count? Man, that's tough, you guys, because I don't have an easy answer for that. For locals, though, like I can tell you kind of my mindset. Um, assuming that they don't count for national rankings, right, or for the PGR. Um, okay, let me talk with majors, right? Like for Shine, SmashCon. What I do to prepare for majors, leading up to the event, I get proper practice. I grind it out for the matches themselves. When I'm actually at the major, I make sure to get proper sleep, warm up. Like I want to warm up for at least like 3 hours before my matches, honestly, and make sure that I'm very sharp and do everything that I can to prepare. Locals are more like I just show up, no prep, and I want to see what I can do and have a good time. But I'm also competitive at the same time, so I just want to do it,
Of course, yeah.
And at locals, I would say I'm basically never as prepared as I will be at a major. Now, if I knew that they did count for the MPGR for like official rankings, yeah, I would probably put in the same type of preparation for majors that for the locals as I do for majors. But that's also exhausting. Like, dude, I'm tired.
Right.
Like, I'm getting old. I'm like, I don't really want to do that. Like, I
CB or
don't.
Zero's got a different setup he's got a different rest setup that he's labbed out every week or so.
He does, and do you know how hard that is to avoid when you don't like warm up properly and stuff? Like, it's insane, man. Like, he's gonna rest you. He's nuts. Um, but I guess those are like my two different mindsets of going to a local where I can just show up, no prep really, and I just go have a good time, compete because I just enjoy competing. I want to make it far in these locals, but it's like way too exhausting for me to put in the same preparation as I do for majors. So I just want to show up and just have fun competing, right? But for majors, it's totally different. Like I pull out all the stops for that. But those are my two different mindsets for them.
I mean, I think that's really fair. I mean, uh, to further that, not only are there different mindsets, there's literally different environments. When you're at a local, yeah, you're probably not going to be the best conditions for playing. Um, there's probably going to be. I mean, hey, depending on the local, there could be people drinking there. Could be cramped. Like, obviously, the conditions that you're playing in are going to be completely different. So I think that's fair. I have a question, and go however you want to go on this one. Um, but do you think that local rankings can negatively affect players? Do you, like, if locals counted, would they negatively affect players' rankings? Because I feel like that's a question that kind of people, um, they always think about, but it's good to like talk to someone and actually get the top player opinion on it.
I mean, for me personally, it kind of dissuades me from going to locals in the first place or competing in them, just because it's a lot of work. Like I get tired doing it. That's why I just kind of save it for majors, right?
Yeah,
Locals could be more fun, like more relaxed, laid back. But I
and
guess
you can
that's the
go whatever
negative
character
effect.
you want, right? Like it's not
Yeah, yeah,
you're not
exactly.
beholden to going the best matchup or anything.
Yeah, and this is just me personally,
Yeah,
right?
of
Like
course.
there's plenty of players. In fact, probably most players don't think the same way I do. Like they want to climb up their local rankings because that's where you start, right? Like you start going to your locals, climb up the local rankings. Like I remember when I was coming up, I wanted nothing more than to climb up the Arizona rankings, try to make it as close to one as possible. And then from there, take it to majors and see what I can do at majors. So I went through like that whole thing. But as someone who's been through all of that, now I see locals and I'm just like, I want to save all the effort for majors. Like that's how I
Yeah.
feel. Um, but I guess that's the negative impact of locals counting for rankings. It just makes me not want to compete in locals.
I mean, I also think it's important to say that like these types of questions, it's both. Yeah, we want your personal opinion, but then also like I also don't think that top players should have to I don't think that there should be situations where it's like, oh yeah, top players have to go to locals, right? I think that that's all different. But it's really great to hear your thoughts on this. So in terms of like yourself, that's those are your specific thoughts, and it's good to like get into that in a like a broader sense. This is a year where we went from kind of like a laissez-faire attitude on in terms of what counts, so to speak, where just panelists get a lot of data. And this year, specifically, for the first time in, I don't know, maybe ever, the rankings, the top 50, and possibly, could be on the top 100, has a specific delineation where they say in the rules, like in you get a little prompt, and you get like some things that say, if you wish to give more credit to people who are international, feel free. Like there's different little things that's like it leaves it up to the balloter discretion. But for the first time, they put in something about locals, which is you know so I can actually pull it up exactly right now, but it was something along the lines of
I think I was saying you can use regionals if you can use head-to-heads from regionals if you feel like a player does not have sufficient data available from majors to evaluate their year. And
yeah.
if that
So
means
actually, it's the interesting thing here is that it's not even that it's not even that. So I'm gonna read a couple of the other ones just to
okay,
like kind of get a good example of what is asked of people who do ballots. So you are expected to consider their results at regionals and majors. You may consider their results at out of region events. This was a North American list, so this is probably why that got that question or that prompt. Um, you may consider their results at serious invitationals, but keep in mind that players who qualified for reasons other than merit received an opportunity they may otherwise not have gotten. And then the one that we are talking about right here at the very end is you may consider their locals. You may consider the results at locals only if they lack sufficient data for you to make an informed judgment without local results. So what do you think about something like that? Something about that prompt?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, if it's like an activity thing, where else are they putting in their effort for
Mhm.
competition? Like it's got to be locals. Like in that case, I would think it's because they can't travel very much or something.
Yeah.
So they're competing at their locals instead. But like, yeah, I think if they haven't really traveled much, there's not enough data for them. I mean, you got to get data somewhere. Yeah, I think that's fine.
So I want to bring up, and I'm sure Edwin has something he wants to bring up too, because we obviously care a lot about this. Um, I want to bring up an example of now this is in the year where that was added to the rankings, but I want to bring up an example of a couple rankings that we saw this year because we've always talked about how rankings it's hard to like make rules and like stipulations that apply to the top 10 as much as they apply to the bottom 10, right? Because it's completely
Mhm.
different things, right? You say that people need to, like, people say Levin hasn't entered enough events, um, but he also has to kind of follow the same rules as the people who are going to be ranked like 95th. So it's very hard to do something like this. So we've always said, if you're someone who can't travel that much, locals are a great way to get results. I think that's the good thing to say. But I want to bring up a specific thing here. So Kadoran ranked top 10. Kadoran had an incredible year. Kadoran was he was I think 2-5. Yeah, I forget the exact. Maybe I'm trying to remember what was inside the time frame and what wasn't. But he did not have a great record with S2J. S2J honestly, these were all from locals. These were from Lawless Melee, the new Melee in Progress, and he got he got 5 wins on Kadoran. Kadoran's rank honestly not that affected. He didn't fall behind Mango. He was in the top 10 still. And then another player who we have, Fiction. Fiction was honestly doing pretty well against S2J earlier in the year, and then started to lose a lot to the point where Fiction's been winning recently, and S2J still has a positive record. I think it's 10-6 right now, which includes him losing the last 3 sets. So it's stuff like this where I think Fiction and Kadoran both had incredible years, and honestly, people probably didn't really take the losses into account that much because they were ranked 10th and 12th. And someone like S2J, S2J had a year which is a little quiet for him, gets ranked 16th in the world. So I honestly, I am someone who believes that this type of stuff can have good in the rankings like this. I think that people say, why should I go to this? I can only affect me negatively. Honestly, I'm not bringing up what you saying. I'm just saying people have said this. But we have like actual results that show that people can be benefiting from this even at a high level. So it's interesting to see. And yeah, I don't want this to seem like you came in and we're like ambushing you or anything, but this is the I've never announced a guest and then had multiple people DM me to talk about something. So honestly, we had to bring this up. And Edwin, you've probably got something, another like burning scenario in your mind. So let's hear it.
Yeah, I think it's funny you mentioned Kadoran. I actually the words that came into my mind was literally just asking Axe if he had ever met John Coe before, because I think Kadoran is one of those players. So look, I'll put it this way. Obviously, I don't think local head-to-heads and I don't think local results matter equally as much as majors. I think all of us agree that nothing will help your rank or affect your rank more than how you perform at the biggest tournaments. That's just I think if you ask most panelists this, like if like someone could lose a regional, but if they're winning majors or they're making top eights, that's the kind of important like weighting on their performance that really stands out above everything else. However, I do think that there are situations where locals and regionals for that matter, where where in terms of whether they count or not, I think there's a lot of situations where when you're looking at tons of sets, I think they have to be factored into your kind of internal model of how a player is with the field. And I think Kadoran in 2019 and 2018, or more so 2019, was actually a great example of the kind of player who I think if there were not people paying attention to his local or regional results, it would have been very difficult for someone like him without a sponsor to be able to gather like a resume of results and sort of performances that are worth paying attention to. So I think just for me personally, I don't think locals are equal to majors or like really big events, but I do think that locals offer opportunities for a lot of sets to be considered for winning players or for players who may otherwise not get that kind of responsibility or get that kind of opportunity or visibility at the top level, right?
Yeah.
Without events like the UCI weeklies, without the SoCal events like TMTs, like Power Nines or whatever back in the day, it would have been very difficult for a player like Kadoran, back in the day. Obviously, this is someone we now view as a top 10 player. He's sponsored by FlyQuest. He does all this other stuff for the scene, but but he is actually one of the players I think of as far as like their initial rise coming through, heavy local involvement, regional involvement, not just like getting a win here or there, but consistently competing with the top level of SoCal. So I think, and just to kind of hone in on this example a little bit, at least from my perspective, I can't speak for every single panelist, but just for me, I always thought that shined on a player like Kadoran much more than it hurt someone who might drop 3 out of 10 or 4 out of 10 sets. Well,
Honestly, I don't even know if there's been a situation where I actively hurt someone for their
yeah.
local performances. I mean, when it comes to people who are able to go to majors and regionals consistently, I I don't really look at I don't really look at locals because I have a wealth of data, and when you're talking about top 20, I'm not really too worried if you drop the
Yeah.
set to Mega Christmas. Like,
Yeah, it's like whatever.
so yeah, we'll see. I do think that the way that the question is phrased, yeah, it does seem to like, let's say Melee Stats' own Abe. He just had a really great local run. And what was it? He beat did he beat Wally and
Wally and
B-Bats at the same Yeah, it's insane. He beat Wally and B-Bats at the same tournament. Great wins. And his performance at Shine this year was placing to seed, losing who is expected to lose to. And like getting to fill in the blanks when it comes to local results, I think is really helpful for players at the lower end. I don't know, maybe Abe doesn't make top 100, but having all of this, like, it kind of just when you only look at majors for people, especially lower down, you kind of really don't know. Like, you're like, I think this person's good, but having like all these things, it's really reassuring to see all these other results to kind of like fill in the gaps and understand,
Mhm.
okay, so they got 33rd this tournament, 49th here. And they just like get thrown in the pile of all the people who get 33rd and 49th. So it is helpful to kind of figure out what's going on.
Yeah, like they play Hungry Box or like they play Zayn like round 1 or something, winners
Yeah,
round of the top 32, and they just like they it's like you said, they place their seed. We don't really have a good grasp on like there's a lot of players like that disparately across like majors, and you have to consider like at least for players that end up on the ballot, which is about like 120 players or so. It's without a lot of those like head to heads, and this is for like the majority of the list, by the way. It's very difficult to separate, someone for 64 or 86 on a per set basis. Obviously, like we're living the most volatile period in Melee history. But like when it comes to evaluating results or across a given period, I do think there's a lot of circumstances where I think local and lesser stake head-to-heads have to be taken into consideration. But I think as Wheat's talking about, there's a way of doing that without without hurting without hurting players at the very highest level who are winning at majors or performing great at majors, which obviously like we agree is the most important thing that you can do.
All right, Edwin. I think now it just seems like we're talking down to him. He's not in
Yeah.
trouble. Actually,
No, it's
I
just,
mean,
Actually,
I'm
we think
soaking
a
in
lot.
the
you're free to go at any
information
time.
Yeah, we just talk a lot about this stuff. Like we've had so many, we, me, Ambi, anyone who's the Melee Stats crew's at above. We've like talked about our ballots and about like specific results so many times. Like we've had this
Yeah,
discussion
and
a lot.
I mean we've had podcasts about this if you want to go back and listen. And one of the things we mentioned on this podcast as kind of a final note to this is when you have a bunch of people who are doing their ballots, they will naturally consider different things. I might be someone who sees local results as something that is very important for people lower down, and other people might not feel the same way. And luckily, like having so many people, it does kind of give you this option or like this ability to average everything out, and so there's not one opinion or anything that kind of overrides the rest. But yeah, I mean, Axe, it's great to have you on. Someone like someone you've been around for such a long time. You've been through the rankings, obviously when they were new, and all the name changes and everything that they've gone through. So we don't really get an opportunity to talk to someone about rankings to this extent who is so heavily involved in the other side. So I appreciate
Right.
you just talking about that. And we're a little over an hour in. So I think it's probably time that we get to some of the next stuff that we have to talk about, because like we said, it's a jam-packed episode. There's a lot to talk about. So we don't know a lot about this yet, but the Ludwig Smash Invitational has just been announced. This was something that the funny story behind this is, if you're in the Melee Stats Discord server, Aiden, huge Melee Stats acolyte, I guess he's been a friend of the people in Melee Stats forever. Been on like every single iteration of our podcast that we've ever done, and now that he's obviously on to bigger and better things, he doesn't always have time to come in, but he dropped into the Discord server, I don't know, a month ago. Edwin, what do you think? A month?
Yeah, I think it was like a month or like maybe even 2 months ago. It was like quite a bit.
Yeah, it's like let's say 4 to 6 weeks ago. He drops into our Discord server and he goes, "We're going to be running a huge tournament. Lots of money on the line. It's going to be an invitational. Lots of people are going to be going." And no one says anything. No one responds to it. Whatever conversation was already going on just continued. And then everyone kept it like a secret. And it's so funny because like I think that this was probably a tactical leak to like get more hype and get people talking. But like everyone in this Discord server of hundreds of people just went, "Your secret is safe with me, Aiden. I will not let anyone know." And then of course he talks about it on Twitter, and then they have an official announcement. So we've begun to know a lot more about this thing. That this is the Ludwig Smash Invitational. This is I think a $30,000 and $30,002 prize pool. But I'm bearing the lead here because this is probably one of the most stacked events that not only are we seeing this year, that we've been seeing in Smash history. Edwin Budding, you are a Smash historian. and I want to get Axe's opinion on this. But before we could do this, can you give us a quick synopsis of where this lands in terms of biggest events? A quick synopsis of just how big this is.
My God, every single top 25 or like top 30 player or whatever is going to be here. The last time we've had an event like this stacked, pound for pound, like the kind of event that features everyone at it. You have to go like all the way back, right? I think that like even looking at something like Genesis, right? Like Genesis 8 like didn't have Leffen, and that was an event we would consider like an event where like that's supposed to be like the most important of the year, right? Like Smash Summits have happened without top 10 players before. This is an event that has basically like all the top 25. You look through like, you know, the history books of Melee, like you got to go to like FC3, like for the kind of event that just like features the best of every single region to have like to have anywhere close to this kind of stack. Like I am not joking when I say that this invitational may straight up be, in terms of like who is there and the competitive prestige of like fighting against other people or playing sets against other people here, it might literally be the most like competitively prestigious event in like modern history, like for Melee.
Of anything?
Yeah, and honestly, like even for Smash, like you'd have to go back to like Civil War was also pretty stacked for Smash 4. But like this, it's like when was the last time the entire like top 30 was somewhere? All of them.
Probably not since I started playing. Like I can't even remember. There's been like invitationals, like obviously Summit, you know.
Yeah.
There's also been these other invitationals like Yahoo Rivalries, for example,
Yeah.
or like Battle of the
Like
Five Gods.
Battle of Five Gods is the closest thing. That didn't even have
Yes.
weapon. Like this, oh my God, it's just hitting me now. This is literally more stacked than Battle of Five Gods. That's crazy.
Yeah, this is going to be the most stacked tournament that I can't even remember. Like I don't know if this has ever happened. Like he literally invited the top 24 players or so plus me and Wizzy. And like I always thought it's kind of interesting that the top like 24, I guess top 22 were invited. And then they skipped down to 29 and then they just invited me. I'm like, all right, sure. Like I think that's cool.
Spud is gonna be here, Axe.
Yeah, Spud. What the heck? Like that's insane. Like even outside of the top 24, the last chance qualifier bracket is so stacked.
It is so incredible.
There's gonna be top 100 players who go 0-2 in the top.
Yeah. It's insane. So this is an event where it's kind of the tale of two events, right? I mean, we saw Axe, you were involved in this. We saw the Smash World Tour LCQ. That was really cool. We're going to be seeing LCQs for Smash World Tour again and Panda Cup, and they're always a fun thing, right? When everything's on the line and just like only one or two slots. But this is so different because it's almost its own thing, right? An LCQ is always like a precursor. It really feels like you have the group stage or the main bracket or whatever it's going to end up being called. The invited people is one of the most stacked events that we've ever seen in Smash history, and then the LCQ is just this like Aiden specialty. So he messaged me. I don't consider any credit in this event. But we did talk about, you know, in terms of okay, who gets invited, who stuff like that. But he messaged me and he said, "Who do you think needs to be at this event? I'm going to reach out to people for the LCQ." And he is just like, he's like, "Give me anything." So I'm like spouting out people. I'm like, get Prison there. Like just saying stuff that I don't even think's gonna happen.
That's
I'm just
so
like
cool.
anything I can think of. And like literally there were people who I'm like, SFOP would be cool, but I don't think SFOP is going. So I don't even bring it up. And then I see the LCQ attendees and SFOP is there. Like everyone who we talked about and more. It's just like, I mean, I guess he's impossible to say no to because every single person who you would want to be at a tournament is going to be at this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be insane. I honestly like it. It's an invitational, so I think people will. They might get a little well actually when it comes to this, but we've talked about it, and I think like it's hard pressed to find a tournament that is more stacked than this in the current age.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go to if we're thinking about Melee, like you got to go to like maybe one of the Evos from the Prime era, or something like when Genesis first came back. Like
Yeah, I mean, in
truly,
terms of like top 50 players, so
yeah.
Genesis 4 of that top 50 that year had like 40 some of them. Apex 2015 had a ton of people. I think it had like I don't think Javi went, but it had like the first 25 people in order or something like that. Genesis 3 as well, and the Evos, you're right, but there was always like something, right? It always felt like someone was missing from all these tournaments when you look back at it. And even though everyone's not confirmed, obviously, Laud and Aklo both are. I I think Aklo, he's like studying to become a doctor, and Laud is a doctor. So there's obviously we can't confirm everyone just yet. But yeah, it really just seems like if everyone who is going, if everyone says they're going goes, this is one of the biggest events of all time. And it's so incredible to see in a year where I honestly don't know if it needed more big events, but I think it slots in perfectly. And it's just like so incredible to see these people. I'm it's getting to see Left in another event, getting to see Wizrib at another event, getting just like it's another chance for all these people. And like we fucking Spud. So I am so incredibly excited. And Axe, the illustrious 29th player, Mr. 29. It's some clerical issue must have happened for you to get into the top 24, but I'm very excited to see what you are able to do there.
Yeah, I was obviously very happy because I I messaged Aiden because he made that tweet saying if you want a position, a spot in the last chance qualifier, message him. And so I messaged him. I'm like, hey, I would love a spot here. And he said, oh, I actually meant to invite you. I've just been lazy and I forgot. And I was like, wait, like, okay. And he said, yeah, like a direct invite. You don't have to do the last chance qualifier or
Wow.
anything. And I'm like, wow.
That's
Like,
hilarious.
okay. Because as 29, I saw that it's the top 24, or it should be 24 people invited. But yeah, no, number one is Wizzy's not on the rankings either right now.
Yeah.
So they got 22, like I think like 22 of the best players, and then of the highest ranked players, and then me and Wizzy. But I am curious how they decided like which of the two players to leave out, who are in the last chance qualifier, I think, which is cool. But yeah, I'm like,
No one needs
I'm lucking out here. I feel like this is cool. I'm happy. I'm happy to be a part of it. Like,
Actually, you got to give yourself some credit. What did you got? What, 5th and 4th? What did you get recently?
Yeah, that exactly.
Okay,
But...
so I don't know if it was all luck. I think there was some skill involved there. But yeah, I mean, right now this has just been announced. So maybe not as much to talk about as when we get closer to the event. Or in the case of me, Edwin, you're not going to the event. Me and Axe will be there. We'll be hanging out.
I mean, I think it's gonna be at the Luxor, if I'm not mistaken. That's, man, like Ludwig's doing such awesome stuff. Like,
right?
That's so cool.
This is so we have talked about as a community. Personally, I don't know if we brought this up on the podcast before, but as a community, we have talked about this like ninja tweet, right? Remember the ninja one of like, I got something cooking or whatever. People have been like, whoa, they're so excited. And they're like, well, this never happened. And it's like, you literally have someone doing better, right? Whatever Ninja would have given Nintendo or given Melee, Freudian slip, whatever they would have given Melee, would not have been anywhere near what Ludwig has given to us. Ludwig is just like, I don't know, man. I don't want to go on another diatribe about how good Ludwig is to Melee because I feel like it's hard to stop just because the list of accomplishments.
I mean, you can just tell he's one person who like truly loves Melee. Like that's coming from the heart. Like you can just tell.
Dude, I remember his commentary.
Aiden, good team.
And Aiden, yeah, well, all of them still, like, they all still go to whatever. I see Nick at so many events setting up the Foursquare. Like, it's such a care for the community, because sometimes Obviously, Smash is not the thing to do if you want to get big, but sometimes you'll see people kind of ping pong around gaming scenes in terms of just like getting their brand up. And honestly, I've said this in the past. If you check out some of those early Ludwig commentary things, he's kind of really mugging for the camera. He's like really trying to get his brand up. But yeah, I mean, everyone has proven that like they still care about Smash so much to this day. And it's really just the best situation that we can be in as a Smash community to like just they keep giving us stuff and oh man, it's so amazing. So yes, this is incredible. And honestly, if you're going to give anyone Ludwig money to run a tournament, I think Aiden is like the best guy to do it. He literally would message me way back when, before he even worked at Summit, about like wanting to throw a tournament to see like one specific match happen. He'd be like, "Hey, who do you think would win? You know, Rocky or whatever?" And I'd be like, "I don't know." And he's like, "Maybe I'll throw a tournament and invite them both." So
never forget Aiden's he swears by his Spud versus Armada like friendlies
in the apartment in the Melbourne apartment above the city. Spud whooped Armada so bad. Apparently, I don't know, but
he whooped the Peach so bad that Armada went Fox and immediately started destroying him. Before he goes.
Yeah. See, I'm so excited to have Spud back, and I'm so excited. I hope I get to talk to Aiden in person at some point, because he is just like a ball of joy when it comes to talking about that man.
Hopefully he's not like mobbed by fans or whatever, or that you can get a chance to talk to him.
It's this is an invitational. There's no spectator passes.
True.
But I guess you could buy a competitor pass and whatever. But yes, this will be a very sick event. And honestly, I'm not telling a lie. We're going to do an episode about it once we get closer. But yeah, for now, we're kind of we had spent a lot of time talking about this wonderful Shine event. We spent a lot of time kind of schooling Axe and when it comes to locals. So we've got to get onto our next subject, which is going to be Riptide. So this is our upcoming major. I am going. Axe is going. This is kind of another situation, Edwin, like the Ludwig tournament where the two of us are going, but you're not. So this is going to be a very fun one.
Replace me on the show, also.
He's been a great guest, honestly. I'd have him on every week instead of you.
Oh, let's go.
Fair enough. I would have him on also instead of me.
You're not even wearing your Melee Stats merch, man.
It's in the laundry.
Somehow my internet's been more consistent than yours today.
True. Honestly, it's all stacking in your favor.
Yeah, this is beating up another Marth player.
This is honestly Edwin. This reminds me of when we had a rankings episode at the end of 2021, and me and Dark Genix came on. Well, I host the podcast, of course, that's on. But we had Dark Genix on, wonderful guest. And me and him both agree that online shouldn't count, and you were the only one who thought it should, and we just bullied you. This reminds me of that.
It's okay. I got my revenge when Moki, Blur, and me ganged up on you on the same topic.
Yeah, see, the thing with that is that I actually think that Blur agreeing with you is a negative when it comes to your point.
Yeah, but Moki agreed with me also, so I think you still got...
Moki just wanted to be ranked. That was all it came to.
No, I think
he was personally affected by this.
Right now, we should change the topic and talk about Riptide.
Let's talk about hey, you're talking about corn cobs. Let's talk about a state that has vast fields of them. I'm sure, Ohio. So Riptide is in the long line of water park tournaments, which is a thing that Smash has an abundance of right now. But it's an interesting kind of series because Smash and Splash was one of the biggest in Melee for a while. It kind of like slowly crept up and then just got to be this thing where like 800 people were going. And then Riptide was the successor to it and was going to be, I think in 2020 was going to be really big. But in 2021, it was the first major that back for Melee, basically. We had some smaller events. But this one, in terms of big events, was the first one back. Ultimate was having them months before, which is weird. before everyone was vaccinated. That's a weird thing. But Riptide, it's continuing on with this legacy. I think that it's good to see a tournament like this do well. And I mean, we are seeing a pretty interesting lineup here. It's cool to see all these events, and as much as it hurts to like not have an event where everyone's here, we talked about the Ludwig one. We haven't had something that's even close to that in a while. It is cool to see these little tournaments where like you might have this is like a Zayn Plup HBox one, a J-Mook, throw Axe in there. Like there's a lot of different people here. And it's always cool to see like majors where a bunch of people can win or like how these interact. So I think we're going to see something really cool. And obviously, Axe, you've mentioned this. You hate to see your bracket, so we're not going to try to talk about specific bracket paths. But Axe, we gave you a list of the players who are going to be going to this. Are there any that stick out as people who they might like shock you, or they might maybe not shock you, but they might shock the world? Anyone who you think is like primed for upsets here or anything?
I think the one player that I'm looking at right now, just based off this list, going into Riptide, I'm so curious how Polish is going to do.
Yeah.
Because I think Polish had a pretty underwhelming performance at Shine, and I know that Polish has been like kind of going back and forth between Fox and Peach, but man, I've seen Polish do some amazing things. I know that that's one heck of a competitor who has the potential to be at the top. So that's like one person I'm watching out for. I'm wondering how they're gonna do.
Axe, can I
uh-huh.
ask you a variant of the question that we gave you? But I'm gonna give it a little Edwin twist.
Go
Okay.
for it.
Is there anyone here that you see and you're like, and you're salivating over the prospect of facing? You're like, oh, give me this player. I'm gonna beat them super bad, or just someone that you really, for whatever reason, want to play in bracket.
Almost, but not quite along those lines. Someone who I do really want to play, but I don't necessarily think that I'm gonna destroy them or anything. But I want to fight Hungrybox. I really do.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's one person who I've lost to for the past like decade, right? And at SmashCon, I tried Fox finally for the first time, and I feel like I got a lot of data, and I'm like, oh, so this is how this feels. And I lost 3-0, obviously, but it oddly didn't feel that bad. I'm like, this is actually feels so doable. It really does.
After years of Pikachu puff, after years of Hungrybox getting a lead, going to side platform, then top platform, side platform, top
yes.
platform.
Yeah, it's man, I don't know, but I have been playing Fox a lot more lately, and I'm thinking my Fox is kind of like my my secret Hungrybox killer. At least that's what I'm hoping. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to give it another try. Lately, I've just been wanting to fight Hungrybox just to see if I can do it. You know, it's like the ultimate challenge, the one person who's beat me harder than everyone else. And I think that's one person I really want to fight. Another one, looking at the lists of people that I see here, I would love to play Laud, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I played Laud at Genesis, and I felt I played okay given how I was at the time. And this is really hard for me to explain. I just want to see how I'm going to do, because I haven't I've had that one experience versus him, but I want to fight him now. I want to see how I'll do now that I feel more sharp and more prepared than I have been the past couple years. Like I'm curious about it, and I know Laud's a monster. I think I just love the challenge. That's what I'm kind of what I want to do. I did have to play versus B-Bats at Shine.
Yeah.
And that's a player, like I know that B-Bats just 2 weeks before that beat Swift. And I'm like, man, this player is like, I know that they're good against Pikachu. But I was able to win 3-0 actually. And I think like the Peach that's like I think right now you would call the best Peach currently. I just want to see how I'll do against like the best Peach. Just curious about it.
Really commendable answers, especially when you were set up to own someone. That was a very negative question that you asked, Edwin, and guess what? It didn't work out for you.
I had to know who Axe wanted to own more than anyone else.
Well, it turns out he's a humble competitor.
Okay,
Yes,
hold on. Let me answer the question
Okay, all right.
A different one. So one who I like just want to own, right? Let's see. I need a second here to look at this.
Axe, I'm imagining you're looking through it and you're like, just forever, you're like, give me no flexes. I'll destroy him. I'll destroy him again.
I mean, that's not a bad answer, honestly.
Man, how rude would it be if he just picks all the players that we have going to this? He's like, yeah, I'd fuck up Grab. Give me Lunar.
They're all garbage, bro.
Yeah, they're destroyed.
They're all garbage. Like, they're not even worth my time. First, I don't know why I have this answer, but for some reason, I really want to beat Ginger.
Really? That's
for some reason. It might be because he beat me last time I played him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to beat Ginger. I think that's like a different. Yeah, that's a different feeling because like the other ones I mentioned are because the challenge. I want to see how I'll do or whatever. Ginger, it's because. Yeah, I guess I feel a bit of salt there.
Damn, okay, well,
I like it.
So, yeah.
I hope that set gets to happen, and then Edwin, let's have Ginger on next. Whenever our next episode is, let's have Ginger on. This seems like we got a beef brew. Edwin, you might make it to this one. Maybe you get replaced by Axe. We'll see.
The Wheat, Axe, and Ginger show. This is a crazy.
I think it'd be great. I think it'd be a super fun time. I saw Ginger for 1 second of Shine. He like tapped me in the back, said hey, and then disappeared. And yeah, I guess at Shine had a little bit of they had the VIP area, like the backstage, and then they had like a super VIP area, which was upstairs. And I didn't get to see that, but you can see it from this just like the floor. You can like see the TVs and everything from this like office that they have at the top of the convention center. It was very honestly, felt like shit to be on the floor and seeing these people above me. I look up and I see Lunar Dusk in there, and I'm like, Lunar, come on, Lunar.
I only went up there on Sunday.
Player.
I went up there on Sunday, and I went up there. It was literally only Zayn and Swift.
Okay, makes you feel a little better.
Yeah, so I walked in there, it was just Zayn, Swift, and then me and Yokai Nels. We're just playing Pikachu Marth. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Did you get any of the pizza?
There's pizza up there?
No,
one told me about this.
I wasn't up there, as I've established. No, there was like I snagged a slice of pizza. You have to be there at the right time, and it was it was backstage. It was like near where the. Isn't this a great podcast? We're talking about the VIP section. It was near where the water was. There was like you have to go at the right time. You can snag a slice. That's the wonder of these Papa John's events is that if you have a VIP badge and you're in the right place at the right time, you might be able to grab yourself a slice.
Man, I should have been on the lookout for that.
It's really it's just like you got here. Maybe is this insider information? I don't know. I'm not sure. You know, I did the CEO commentary for the Panda Cup, so that was a Papa John's thing. So I don't know if this is. I'm leaking information, but at 4 p.m. they do the ad read for Papa John's. That like they have different times during the day, but I know 4 p.m. So if you're there at 4 p.m., I say look around. They might have a box with a couple slices missing, but some for the taking. Edwin, how about yourself? You were probably in the VIP area.
I actually was not. I was not, but I wanted to actually mention one thing really quickly. Axe, I thought you gave great answers for who you wanted to play in bracket, and more specifically who you want to own in bracket. But I want to mention one matchup that we've only seen once this year, and in a matchup that I think is kind of existing in this like weird gray space of uncertainty. And that matchup is Zayn versus Plup. The one time they played this year, Plup won 3-2. He also won me a bunch of side bets after a bunch of people gave me this long spiel about how Plup was never going to beat Zayn again and how like Zayn was just going to always beat Plup. I always thought that was garbage for whatever it's worth. That's why I won a 5-1 or like 3-1 odds or whatever. I don't even remember. I won so many bets at Summit. The numbers kind of just like I forget them. But anyways, I'm really
suffering from success.
Yeah, suffering from success. But yeah, I'm really interested how. Wow. I'm really interested to see how Plup versus Zayn goes this time because I think for for a long time after their initial like first set, Plup sort of like, or after Zayn beat him the first 2 times, Plup kind of just like destroyed him for a really long time. And then during the pandemic, when Zayn's rise happened online, it really, Zayn was kind of beating Plup. But if you watch the sets, they never felt like, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like how Plup feels in general. It's just like, why is this happening? Like, I don't think this is going to happen next time they play. But then that happened like 4 times in a row. And then like they were ready to play at Summit this year, and I was like, I don't think those sets really count. I feel like Plup is going to be real, or it's going to be close. So I'm kind of curious to see, like, is Plup going to beat him again? Like, is this the start of a phase where Plup starts beating him a bunch? Is Zayn going to beat him, or are they going to start going back and forth again, or whatnot? I'm just in general, I'm very interested to see how those two do against each other, especially because like I think Plup's Sheik, is not, he doesn't really do a lot of the annoying anti-Marth stuff that Leffen does, and I think his Sheik is pretty distinct from J-Mook's in another way. So I'm just really fascinated to see how that matchup turns out in bracket.
Man, I feel like it's so easy to say how Zayn's gonna do just because we've been seeing him so much lately. Like he's been dominating a lot of times. Like he's been looking good. He had his slump, which I wish my slump was like that. But like Zayn looks amazing, right? Plup on the other hand is like way harder to evaluate just because we haven't seen him as much. Like he just hasn't been as active. And I feel like it's easy to look at that and just say, well, Zayn's probably going to win because Plup's just not going to be ready. But every time, like historically, Plup will just show up and just win because he's just too good, bro. I don't know. So if I had to, predict, I think. Oh, gosh, I don't know.
How's Plup on unranked? Does he still like play a lot? Like I know he still does unranked and like he streams.
He just did. He beat All-Star with every character, right? He beat All-Star on very hard with every character.
Yeah, that's hard. That's by the way, I've tried doing that. That's really tough.
Oh my God, he did with Bowser. Jeez.
Did it with everyone. I think obviously it wasn't with every character, but I remember the Mango days of All-Star very hard. I remember that. And I think he won a tournament right around there. So maybe that's the key.
Yeah, he also won a TMT with all Samus, beating Hungry Box. Recently.
I saw that. Insane.
It's really just weird to like. We've seen, now that we're talking about it, we've seen like a non-trivial amount of Plup stuff, and I don't know what it means. Like none of this helps me. Him beating HBox with Samus is incredible, and then I don't know. He could go into this tournament and get 5th. Like, right? This doesn't tell me anything, but that is also kind of the story of Plup in a way, where honestly, like you don't even know until the day. I do think that he is a player who, and I don't know. I don't want to like spread any misinformation, but it seems to me that he, more than the other top players, can kind of change on a day-to-day basis and stuff like that, tournament to tournament. Like if you see him playing hot and a round of 16, then he might end up doing pretty well at the tournament. But like we've seen shaky Plups before. Yeah, I don't know. Watching him at Plup Showdown at CEO was really sick because he was so good. He's played so well versus HBox. He played so well versus Muta King too, obviously, but he was like dancing on HBox and then ended up beating him in bracket the next day. And the entire time I'm watching this and I'm like, he is scrapping. He's not trying to even play this matchup. Like you watch Mango right now, and I think Mango right now tried to play the matchup more than Plup was at Plup Showdown. And he's just like, okay, you're at 77% and you're Puff. Okay, if you let me nair you, I will nair you. Like it's just like this insane lack of gameplay, but because of his incredible ability to play the game, ends up working out. He obviously has game plans for stuff. I don't want to make it seem like that, but I do think that his game feel is so incredibly good that if there's anything that is like slightly off, you see those sets like Edwin mentioned, where he loses to Zayn 4 times in a row or something. I remember like talking to Ipengu, and Ipengu was like, yeah, Zayn's like gonna win this matchup. He's so favored. I'm like, no, I don't think he is. I think it's a lot more even than you're looking. Like, I'm willing to give Plup a pass for like set loss after set loss more than I am for many people. Because I just, yeah, he's just a question mark whenever he comes in, and getting to see him, you're right, is going to be pretty amazing. What do we think about J-Mook coming into this though? So J-Mook is someone who he gets second at another event, and he beats his demon. Like, what do we think about him? He's someone who is just like consistently will go to stuff and consistently will kind of like carve his way into this into this hypothetical major that he's going to win, but we just haven't seen it happen yet. What do we think about him going to this? Axe, I know that you had a lot to say about J-Mook during your set with him, but like, what do you feel about him going into a prospective tournament like this?
Super adaptive player and very fast too. Like, I don't know anyone who adapts that fast. I think he's gonna get a major win eventually.
It's gotta happen.
Yeah. This weekend. Oh man, I mean, I can definitely see a world where he could win the whole thing. I could definitely see it happen. I would love to see him play Plup again.
Yeah,
because he played him at Genesis, right? Just that one time.
Genesis and then Summit, where Plup ended up taking it.
Oh, somehow I don't remember the Summit set, but
that was, you know what? Were we watching that together? We were both exiled from Summit, the Summit 13. I don't know. We were in the cast of people who tested negative, but were not deemed essential, so not allowed to go to the venue. So we were in that little pizza party.
Yeah.
And yeah, like there was Plup's Fox, and like we've talked about, Plup can sometimes just play like he's the best player in the world. In fact, he does it. If you look at his career, he's done it a lot. So it is hard to say when it comes to Plup versus J-Mook. Yeah, I think that's a set. You picked something that I think is like the most fun grand finals in my mind. I think that if it ends up being Plup versus J-Mook for who wins it, I don't know. Like, there's no bad outcome there, right? It'd be super fun. But yeah, I mean, let's just well, while we're on this subject, let's just get into it. We're talking about J-Mook. Can he win? Let's just get into who we think is going to win. You know, make your call. Axe, if you want to say yourself, I'm for it. You know, maybe throw in who might win if you like. I don't know, you get DQ'd or something, right? Whatever situation. Or just say yourself. Who cares? But Edwin Budding, we have a tournament with a couple heavy hitters in the top 29. But yeah, we've got Zayn, we've got H-Box, J-Mook, Plup, Moki's here, Lot is here, Axe. We've got Axe's new rival Ginger. We've got so many people here.
Is that the thing now?
It's gonna be, hey, let's title the episode this. But Edwin, who do you think gets gold here?
I'm a Marth player. I've been saying it quite a bit for so many majors, right? And I was saying it even during his quote unquote slump. I was saying I think Zayn will win this event. Then he didn't win the event. And then I would say, okay, well, I think this time he'll win the event because there's no Sheiks and it's Spaceys. And he lost Phantom, right? I said he'd win SmashCon, I think, and then he lost in one of the biggest upsets in recent times. But he finally won Shine. I think this is good momentum heading into the, such thing exists, heading into the rest of the fall. I really, I like his chances. I don't think there's anyone he's like particularly terrified of playing against. And the players that I would imagine being very difficult for him are players that I would still consider like, I would consider matches between them to be like coin flips or like very hard to predict, such as Plup and our friendly guest on the show.
Yes.
So I think that given what I would imagine is his most likely bracket path, I think if you compared like the top four, for instance, like head to head, J-Mook, if Zayn, J-Mook, Hungrybox is kind of like a trio, or like at worst an RPS, I will say, Zayn and J-Mook are still technically 3-3 on the year. And while J-Mook has shown the ability to beat Hungrybox in a set, 1-5 is still not exactly like great, not exactly like favorable to him. I don't think that I think while Hungrybox is in a similar position against Zayn of being able to take a set against him and actually proving it, I still see Zayn as a very big favorite in that matchup. And frankly, like with Plup, I just think I don't think you can typically just take a long break from going to events and come back and beat Zayn again. I think offline, in 2022, I think that's a bit of a tall order. I'm not even sure if Plup will frankly get by someone like Moki or Ginger if they play again.
Wow.
I think those two are very difficult. By the way, I think Moki would be a very challenging opponent for J-Mook. That would be an example of someone in the field who I think could actually stand a good shot at
H-Box
upsetting.
as well might be
Yeah.
afraid to see Moki in
Yes.
his path.
Of course. But as I mentioned, that the other side of the coin is, well, if Moki or Ginger or whomever takes J-Mook or H-Box's spot, then they play against Zayn. And I think Zayn in that matchup, we've seen Cody win a tournament over him, but Cody is a different beast entirely, and I think Zayn just dominates Fox. He dominates the kind of players that would be scary for J-Mook or H-Box. He does, this year he's gone back and forth with J-Mook, even though J-Mook had that stretch in the middle of the year. He's up on H-Box. I think this is Zayn's tournament to win.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. It's really funny that the one that he ended up winning, because we are a bi-weekly show, we actually didn't get an episode beforehand. So you didn't even get an opportunity to declare that he was going to win Shine, and he did. So that's very funny. Yeah, I mean, you make a lot of great points. I think that when I look at the top echelon of play here, I think that Plup, I think that Zayn, H-Box, J-Mook, I think that these are players who I don't honestly see that they will have any people who they can't beat, not only at this tournament, but in the entire world. I don't think that there's anyone who Zayn has the inability to beat, and I think you can say that for everyone. And I think those four players stand head and shoulders above everyone. So I'm picking Axe. I'm picking my man Axe to win. Now, Axe, I think he got a great shot. I think this is I want to see, if you play H-Box, I want to see this Fox. I honestly believed, at least for the first two games, I believed. I kind of blanked after game 3. I don't remember what happened, but I was a believer. I said, oh, maybe he squeak something out. So I want to see that maybe you don't even have to squeak it out. No,
I'm a
I mean,
believer in the long-term potential, but I thought the first set was clearly like, okay, well, this is trying something new, right? Like you're getting information for people don't typically beat H-Box on the first try, right? Like it's a new phase.
Hey, people don't typically beat Zayn however many times in a row.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
Good point.
But yeah, you know what? I think any of these we I don't even know if these are the top 5 seeds, to be honest, but we've been mentioning 5 players specifically. And I think that any of them could do it. I will. Ooh, it's tough because anything is kind of fun. If Zayn kind of continues this, then his slump is over. If H-Box wins, that's kind of throwing his hat into the ring of whether or not he, is he going to be number 1 in the world again? Does he have a path? Plup winning would be kind of showing, that he is a player who's still top 5, maybe even better if he wins this. J-Mook winning first major, and then honestly the biggest knock against him is that he's not won a major. And Axe winning a major, I'll take it. An open bracket one. Let's not have to mince words this time. No asterisks involved. I think that would be very fun. I will say, I will give it up to the person who has not won an event this big, because we keep saying, is this event a good one for J-Mook to win? We keep looking at the players. Honestly, I think that when he does win an event, and it's a win, not an if, I think he's going to win, and it's going to be through players who we might be scared of. It might be going through H-Box. It might be going through AMSA or Plup, or I guess Leffen, whatever player you want to throw in there. I guess he did beat Leffen, but like whatever player you want to throw in there as a scary person for J-Mook, I think he's going to end up beating them in his
It's
perspective.
the other way around, right? Like J-Mook is the scary one for them as well.
Yeah, true, right? And when it comes to J-Mook, I guess everyone should be scared. But so like we can look at stuff and be like, this tournament is suited for J-Mook to win. Like how we were kind of saying, like this tournament is suited for H-Bucks to win, and then he wouldn't win, and then he won over Cody. I think it's gonna be the same with J-Mook. It's a tournament that he's going to win a tournament through people who we think are tough because that's how his career has been. So I'll pick J-Mook. And second, I'll give second to Axe. Why not? Bracket reset.
J-Mook Axe Grands, that'd be pretty crazy.
But Axe, what about yourself? This is always we really have not done this too many times where we've gotten someone who can win a tournament on prior to a tournament, so it is always fun. So you're in that awkward position where you can either gas yourself up or you can try to be very humble. So whatever path you choose, I think is the right one. I'm fully backing whatever you say here.
Well, for me, there's there's at least two major roadblocks for me, and that's Hungrybox and Plup. Like both of them have been super tough for me, right? So like if I did win this event, I would somehow have to dodge both of them or something, or maybe I have some outstanding performance and able to beat them. I don't know, but I think that Zayn probably has the highest chance to win this whole tournament just based on his performances lately, how good he looked at Shine, especially. But I will say it's really hard to get back-to-back wins as a top competitor because when you win a major, like when you win a big tournament, you're kind of like yes, I did it, and then you celebrate for a while and you feel good about yourself, and like that kind of sinks in for a little while. But for the other competitors like second J-Mook or third Hungrybox, they leave from the event very like hungry for more. They're just like, no, I need to get back and train immediately, and right now I need to get better like as quickly as possible because I want to win the next one. So I would expect the players like Hungrybox and J-Mook to really be on the grind immediately after Shine, and not so much Zayn. Like that's why it's really hard to win back-to-back majors. So a big part of me wants to say either Hungrybox or J-Mook might get this win. There's always the anomaly of Plup. I don't know how Plup's gonna do, but if I have to pick one, I think I feel like based on the fire that I felt from him, especially after losing and throughout the whole weekend, I feel like it might be J-Mook's time.
Wow.
Yeah, so I would say J-Mook. I think I can't help but to feel like he wants it the most, like very badly. That's just the kind of vibe that I got from him seeing him at Shine.
I would absolutely love to see it, and I think what you bring up is super true. And honestly, that's kind of Zayn's. If every we used to do, I remember people would talk about the five gods, and they would act as if each one had their own like superpower, right? H-Box is clutch or whatever. Yeah. If Zayn has one, I think he's prepared. I think that you're super right. I've seen sets. I remember distinctly at a pre-pandemic 2020 tournament. I might be a nightclub where Akla went like super last hit with Toussaint. And I saw that set. He lost the set. And I go, he's beating Toussaint next time they play. And then Toussaint or Aklo ended up winning Scorpius. It's funny to see it in the moment because what you're saying is really true. I do think Zayn, like that's his thing. He loves being prepared. He doesn't take a day off or anything. So I truly am looking forward to this. And hey, we're J-Mook brothers here. Edwin, you're the odd man out again. How does it feel?
Just replace me already, Axe. I'll even get my column. It'll be Monday morning Pikachu.
MMP, Monday morning Pikachu. We'll send the merch over right now. Just sign this contract. But yeah, so here, Edwin, how about this? This is something that we're gonna have. We're coming up in the end of the show. We're gonna have a non-competitive segment. You can't lose this one, unless Axe and I pick the same exact thing. Then maybe. But this is, I think, it'd be very hard for us to choose the same exact thing for this one because this is a segment. Of course, it is officially unnamed, and the crowd that people in
Wait,
chat,
don't we have to? We got the patron questions.
Oh, we got patron questions. We've got wonderful patron questions. My God.
They're good ones.
This is why we don't take a 2-week break. We call ourselves a bi-weekly show. We're better when we take a 1-week break. Okay, so Edwin, do you want to take the first question? We got some questions here, and feel free to go on about them as long as you want or as short as you want. We've got a
Yeah,
couple in store.
let's. Yeah, we've been around. We've been having a lot of fun. So we'll quickly get through them. So the first question is, in your opinion, who is an upcoming Arizona player that we should watch out for the future?
Asking me?
Yeah.
That's an easy answer. I think you guys already know. Like, CPU Zero is a monster, bro. Like, man, I swear, when he gets over his tournament nerves, because he's got all that experience, he, in my opinion, has the best punish game out of any puff by a mile.
Yeah.
Like he, oh my gosh, dude! Anytime I get hit by him, I'm instantly rested, like immediately. It doesn't matter where I am. And honestly, whenever I face any other puff, like even fighting Hungry Box at SmashCon, I would get hit by him and I'm just like, I'm so dead. And then I'm like, oh wait, oh, he didn't do what CPU Zero would do here. And I'm like, oh, this
I've
isn't
heard
so
this
bad.
so many times from other Arizona people. And
it's so funny.
Like every local, like, or every scene says this about their Jigglypuff, right? Oh, our Jigglypuff's different. Like, but I will say, I've seen the CPU
it's
Zero
true.
tapes. I've seen him play other people. I think this is the one example of the region's puff when they say it's different. I truly think this guy is different.
Dude, I'm telling you, because I've played a lot of the other top puffs too. There is no other puff that has the kind of punish game that he has. Now the only problem with him is that he's not as strong in the neutral game as like some of the other top puffs. That's what's holding him back. But if he can figure that out, best puff player in the world, I think so. But watch out for CPU Zero. He's on the come up.
Yeah,
wow.
and
best puff player. Okay, I'll take it.
I need to reiterate this. Like, I've heard this so many times, but CPU Zero was the first time where I was like, all right, whatever. Like, let's take a look at it. And I thought, oh my god, they're right. Like this guy is insane.
Well, Edwin, if you go through every like up and coming puff player, the only way that we're able to describe puff players really is like they're insane at rest, right? And look back at it. You've got like Zayn, they're so insane. They have the craziest rest, and then solo battle's insane. He's got the craziest rests. And like obviously people say that about CPU Zero, so I understand the hesitation of going, yeah, that he has got the craziest rests. No, he does.
No,
I've seen it live in person. They're insane. I implore you to watch only game one. Don't watch games 3 through 4 or 2 through 4, but watch game 1 of him versus Dreffin at Genesis
oh my god,
8.
yeah.
It is the most insane thing. It literally just looks like, what are you supposed to do? Like it, not even what is Sheik supposed to do here? What is anyone supposed to do here? It is so insane. Axe, I agree with you on this one. So that is from question superstar Zadrio. We've got one from our patron Soma, and this is something that you talked about your Fox earlier, but this question is: do you anticipate ever using Fox for any matchup other than Puff?
Potentially, but like the only one I can really think of is like Sheik, but I don't really see it. Not really. It's like, for example, if I need to fight J-Mook, right? J-Mook literally beats the best foxes in the world. Like, I can't help but to think I have a better chance with Pikachu. So potentially, but right now I really only see my fox as the Hungry Box. Like, literally, I might only use them for Hungry Box, and that's it. So, but there is some potential. Yeah. There's potential.
Well, it'll be hard to see regardless.
What makes you a believer in Pika Peach by any chance? Because that was the other one that I thought of.
Similar to J-Mook, I guess, where I see the top Peaches versus all the rest of the Foxes, and I just think it'd be easier with Pikachu. I know it's kind of strange to say that because Pikachu's like this mid tier, but when I play Pikachu and I just have this feeling that it works out better than Fox does, even if there's like that huge tier difference, even if I have less options. I don't know. I just feel like I feel like Pikachu's just better. Like that's just kind of what I think. Kind of a weird thing, but yeah. I also think that the best Peaches and the best Sheiks, basically all the best players, are insane versus Fox.
Yeah.
But the reason why Puff stands out, like for Hungry Box or basically any Puff, is because I just can't help but to feel that that matchup is so lopsided that even I stand a chance versus a Hungry Box. And I also think Hungry Box is insanely good versus Pikachu. And I think that's like one of the rare cases where I do think that my Fox has a higher chance to win. But against like Peach, Cheek, all those guys, there's some potential. But in general, I feel like my Pikachu would do better.
Great.
Well,
Edwin, I think we got a couple more, right?
yeah. So I'll quickly. We could talk about this forever, but just to keep it
True.
short, what do Marths not do well versus Pikachu, and what should they improve on, just in general?
Obviously, that's a question that you could spend another 2 hours talking about.
This one's from Anaconda.
Man,
Just keep it macro, or like.
that's a tough question. Because it's not one thing; it's a whole jumble of like Marth doing a lot of things wrong, a lot. All I can really say is watch Zayn or Ty, and in general, it's
Are we cornering ourselves? Are we not edge guarding properly? Is it tech chasing? What?
a lot of pieces of that. I think the biggest thing is swinging at the wrong times, because I will I like to attack when Marth does a certain move or movement, and Marth players generally just don't deal with it. If you watch Zayn or Ty, in times where most other Marths would swing or try to swap me away, they just like evade. I think they need to be they need to know when to back off and evade more and just try to take center stage instead of trying to swing and keep me out. So that's complicated. It's hard for me to give a simple answer there.
That seems like a good answer.
And then here, this might be a simple answer as well. Our last question for patrons is from Yamham. Who's your favorite Pokemon?
Ooh. For me growing up, it was Scyther. That Scyther's sick.
Oh, Scyther.
Yeah, I like Luxray a lot. He's cool. But like, it might actually be Pikachu now. I like Pikachu.
That is a great answer. For fans of Melee Stats, you might know that I had a journey where I decided that I don't have a favorite Pokemon, and I decided to will myself into one, and I picked Poliwhirl as my one. And you know what? I will say I some regret, but you just kind of got to stick with your decisions. But I actually, it kind of connects to something that we're going to be talking about right now. This is our last segment. This is what I
Wait, can I get something really
oh
quick?
my,
Please,
go on.
please. You really fit. And I promise, I mean this sincerely from the bottom of my heart. Axe, you've basically, like, anyone you've played in Melee for a while, you've taken a set from them or beaten them. But I do genuinely want to know your answer to this. You know,
Okay.
one person that you never ended up beating, like, when, you know, earlier in your career, was Armada. Armada was like one of the Armada and HBox are both difficult, but like Armada, I know you never beaten. I think your career record, I just looked it up right now, ended up being 12-0 for him. And I genuinely want to ask you, I genuinely want to ask you, do you think you would have eventually done it with Pikachu? And how many, and like, what do you think was missing that you might have now?
Just know that this is not actually an approved question. You don't have to answer
No,
this.
I need to.
He's going off script.
I need to know this now. I'm serious.
If we play enough times, yeah, I think I'll eventually get one. Like at least one. I think I would eventually take one, but I don't think I could ever have like the advantage or something.
Close near the end, like, were you figuring it out, like, sort of?
No. The the only times when I would do well for him, because I've had some close sets with him. Like I've gone game 5 plenty of times, like down to the wire, stuff like that's happened on a handful of occasions. But when that happens, I'm like really in the zone. And I think for me to take a set from him, it needs to be something like I'm super in the zone and just like really on point. And he's like a bit off his game or something, then because that will happen eventually. I think I could get a set win off of him like that, but I I just have really high thoughts of Armada. Um, you know, his ability, he reminds me a lot of J-Mook actually, with like his ability to adapt, but also with the clutchness of Hungrybox. He's like both combined. And
That's a terrifying description.
yes,
It's like it's all coming back to me now.
That's why he's a goat.
and it wasn't Peach that was the problem. It was him. It was Armada as a player. Like I felt like I was just weak to him. And yeah, I do think I could get a set win eventually, but like, man, dude, I just have really high views of that guy as a player.
It's hard not to.
Yeah. But I might be able to scrape one set.
Edwin, I gotta say, you've been on thin ice this entire time. You're possibly speaking to your successor, and yet you ask a question that was not approved. This is not in the show notes. This was out of nowhere. So I hope you like your answer, because that might be the last answer you hear from this. But of course, that's not our last thing on the segment. We are our last. We're really running down to it. I swear, Axe, we're almost done.
Right.
Our one of our famous segments, officially unnamed, but of course the fans, they love to call it Touch and Grass, affectionately called Touch and Grass. This is kind of the segment where we talk so much about Melee, where it's gives us a time to talk about something that's been going on in our lives outside of Melee. So it could be something recent, or it could be something that you've been doing recently. It could be recent or something that you've been doing recently. But I will give you some time to think about it. I will go first. I've been watching a lot of movies recently. It's been we had a 2-week break, so I've had a lot of time to watch movies. I've had a lot of movies that I've been watching, but I would probably pick Inception as something that I want to highlight. Never seen the movie before. My friend was like, "Why have you not seen this? You got to watch it." It is pretty good. It's a pretty like fun movie. The fact that this was a blockbuster, it's like, yeah, this is just kind of like what you want your blockbusters to be. I don't think this was particularly like deep on a level that I could like keep watching again and be like finding new things and something like that. But it was a good watch. It kept me entertained. It was very consistent within its own framework. Yeah, just like that is what you want from a $160 movie. Considering that, like, I don't even know if we make $160 movies if they're one-offs anymore. So that was a really great movie. But with the weeks that I've had, with the past few weeks that I had, I'd be doing a disservice to choose that. So instead I will choose hanging out with my loved ones, I guess. I went on a family vacation recently, very fun, but also I got to spend time in Boston and beautiful Worcester with some of the players that we had. Obviously, we flew out Sharp and Abe, and we also had Rich from Norway, who came to shine as well. They came a day early, so I got to hang out with them, and we went. We got food. We got lobster rolls. They went insane. They talked about high fructose corn syrup. It was very fun to get to show them stuff. Edwin was tagged along when we went to Target, and they all like flocked to the Gatorade section like it was this like magical thing. It was so funny. I loved hanging out with them, and I'm so excited that I get to hang out with Sharp and Abe again at Riptide. So that'll be super fun to see. So yeah, I guess like tangentially Melee related, because some of those are Melee players, but the past few weeks I've had a really great time with my family on vacation, and with the Melee players that we've been hanging out with and flying out to stuff. So super fun. I think that would probably have to be the things that I would like to say. And one last thing, shout outs to Rich, the Norwegian, obviously. Shout outs to Rich. Super fun this weekend. He also described a mullet as business in the front and pleasure in the back. So I will keep that in my mind forever. Then what a wonderful way to describe such a thing. Edwin, if you want to keep your place on the show, I would say keep your ranting about fantasy football down to 5 minutes. I'd love it if it were like 2, but I'm gonna like, I gotta be realistic here. But
yeah,
what's going on
that's
with you,
not a
Edwin?
bad guess for what I'm going to bring up, but I'll make this quick. So today I binge watched the entire. So we've talked about The Boys before on the show,
Yeah.
the Amazon Prime show. So I watched Diabolical which was like a series of like 8 self-contained episodes. And I want to say, like, I'll make this quick, okay? 90% of the series is very juvenile, like very base, like fun to watch, kind of silly, very stylistically violent, over the top. But like I watched most of the episodes and I was like, okay, if I was like 16, I would like this. But like there's like this is so crude, like just very, very silly, over the top violence, like kind of potty humor sort of stuff. And then episode 7 of the diabolical series, the tone suddenly shifts. It's this like very well crafted episode about grief and the extents we go to avoid to be in denial of grief and to try to save people we love when we're at the end of our lives or whatever. And it's very difficult for like even works of art or like stories that I really like to get me emotional. And I gotta say, I have not, like, I've seen everything everywhere at once. I've seen a lot of like movies, a lot of TV shows. I was straight up bawling at the end of episode 7 in this anthology. And like the rest of the anthology or the series or whatever, I just thought was kind of like really silly or like fun to watch, but pretty shallow. And then out of nowhere, just in these 8 episodes, one of these episodes, and I say bawling, I mean like, like actually like crying straight up, which is not something that typically happens to me when I watch movies or TVs. It caught me completely off guard. So if you like that kind of stuff, if you like self-contained stories, I wouldn't recommend the Diabolical series, but I'd recommend episode 7 specifically for a very compelling self-contained story.
Is this connected to the boys? I actually don't know the.
It's like in the same universe, so there's still there's like, you know, Vought is still there as a company, and like Compound B is still a thing, but it's like the characters are different.
Cool. Axe, obviously, just came from a tournament, just came from another tournament. I know it's hard to find stuff other than Melee sometimes, but has there been anything going on even in the past few months or anything that you want to highlight that's not Melee related?
So just something that I enjoy doing that's not Melee related. Is that?
Yeah, there's so few times that I think Melee like people actually get a chance to talk about something other than Melee because we love it so much. We jump to talk about it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think it's a great opportunity to just say anything else that's going on with you.
Yeah, it's crazy, but my life right now is like so Melee focused. I've been like so hardcore on that. But yeah, outside
it's
of
I mean, it's
Melee,
paid off.
yeah, I mean, I like to watch anime. I'm kind of a weeb. Can't help it. I like it. I recently watched the Dragon Ball Super movie in theaters. That was
Oh
dope.
yeah.
Absolutely loved it. I like to go bowling here and there, so that's always fun. I'm no good, but yeah, I do bowling here and there, which is cool for Riptide also because Riptide, that venue has bowling, so you bet I'm going to
Does
do
it?
that. They actually have at this particular one that we're going to, they have mini bowling, and that,
Oh.
yeah, that is it's kind of like bowling, but you use 5 pound balls, so they're like lighter, and the pins are a bit smaller, but it's kind of like bowling. Super cool. So I love doing that. That's like a little side hobby that I have, and it's good for like just some
Yeah.
physical activity.
Do you have a personal best? What's your PB?
It's not very good. Well, actually, only once have I broken 200.
Okay.
Uh, but like in general, yeah, I'm like, I don't know, 140 or something average. Which is, I'm just a casual, but it's fun, you know. I like to do it. Um, and yeah, honestly, besides just watching anime, and I've been playing Pokemon Legends Arceus as well. That's been fun. The rest has just been Melee, dude. So that's what it's
Well,
been.
I mean, hey, that's
Yeah.
good for everyone else because it's been really all the work's been it's being paid off. It's everyone sees it. It's very easy to show that. But yeah, that's sick. I think I only broke 200 once as well. I do not consider myself a good bowler or someone who's done it a lot in my life. But the most recent time I did it, I hit 200 and I felt super proud, except for the fact that it was like my cousin's baby shower and like all the men went to go bowl during it. Uh, and I didn't realize that my cousin's husband my cousin-in-law, I guess. I don't think anyone says that word, but he loves to bowl, and all of his family loves to bowl, and all of his friends love to bowl. So everyone there had like their own balls and their own gloves, and they were just like, if they tried, they were getting like, nearly 300. They were getting so many, like, I guess like I don't know what you would call it. There's so many strikes in a row. And then when they weren't trying, they were still doing incredibly well by going like, "Hey, I'm gonna throw it in between my legs or like behind the back," and it was insane. It was horrible. But
God,
yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll go to Riptide. I'll train on this mini bowling, and then it'll kind of be like hyperbolic time chamber in a sense, and then I'll come
it's
back to the
fun.
big one.
Yeah, and the one time that I did break 200, I actually went bowling with Wobbles, the legendary Ice Climbers player.
Oh,
And
Wow.
it turns out that he is actually insanely good at bowling. I say insanely good, meaning he gets over 200 pretty often. And it was the one time where we're just like kind of competitive, where it's just like, dude, no one can beat me. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to beat you. And then I actually did beat him because that was my only time getting over 200.
wow.
It was just
Let's
that one
go.
time. Yeah. It turns out Wobbles is good at like everything. It's insane.
That
Yeah, who would
tracks.
think someone very competitive like Wobbles would be would have that translate into other areas?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of people that were good at everything, you have been an incredible guest here. We're actually no more secret segments. We are on our way out finally. If I mean, I'm sure if you're watching Waiting for Game presented by Melee Stats that you are probably already following Axe. But if you're not, where can people find you online?
So you can follow my Twitter at TempoAxe. And I also like to stream on Twitch most days at twitch.tv/az_axe. Also,
Perfect.
oh yeah, you can also follow my YouTube at AZAxe. Dang, I really want like a centralized.
Yeah.
It's kind of all over the place right now. But
You know,
the easiest way is type in axe.pizza in the web browser.
Mm.
You'll
oh,
find me
you know
there.
what? I lied. I did say it was the last segment. We have not. I'm gonna revive a question. Hey, Edwin, I'm joining you in these unapproved questions. I'm gonna revive a question that we have not asked in months, but we did ask like a lot. We used to ask this a lot. Ax, what's your favorite pizza topping?
Hmm. It's a little unique. Just one topping, or
I yeah. So take this question. However, I've heard multiple people answer in different ways. But what is your favorite pizza topping? However, that question goes into your mind.
okay, yeah, that sounds like just one topping, which for me is bacon. Love
Oh,
bacon. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
I'm definitely like the meat lovers kind of person, but out of all of them, bacon hits the hardest to me.
I think an underrated topping. I think that's a good one. We've had people say pineapple, and they will say who said this? They said pineapple, and they were like, I would not have it by itself. If I had one topping, I would not choose pineapple. But if I had two, pineapple would always be on there. It was great. It was a very creative answer. But bacon, I
Yeah.
think, yeah, we've not heard that one before. Honestly, Edwin, maybe we revive this question. It's a good question. We've been losing out on some great answers. But perfect. So people can axe.pizza, go there, follow everything.
Another
And
good
when
one is just cheese on its own, no
yeah,
topping.
we have been pretty vanilla on our takes here. I think I just enjoy a cheese pizza more than anything else. I'm super open to toppings. I love getting a topping. It's like fun when you order a topping. But
Mhm.
honestly, if I have to think about the pizzas I enjoy the most, I think just a plain cheese would be it. Maybe some basil or something. Yeah. But
It's the extra cheese, man. It hits hard. I love that.
you feel like you're being sold like a lie when they go, Do you want extra cheese for only 75 cents more?" Like it feels like you're getting ripped off, but it's honestly it is good.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so people can follow you wherever and check out axe.pizza. And if you want to follow us, it's been a couple weeks since I've had to do this, but if you want to follow us, you can do so at what do I start off with? I'll get into it once I start off. I think I say
Oh
if
god.
you want to catch us live, you can do so on twitch.tv/melee stats. If you want to check out these episodes after they air, they go on YouTube with the Melee Stats archive along with other extras and bonuses where you can find a hand recording of Abe's set with Ginger. with Axe's rival Ginger. And while you're on YouTube, you can check out our main channel, Melee Stats, where we have longer video essays. You can check those out there. Twitter.com/MeleeStatsPod. That is where you're going to find daily results reporting and links to articles that we put on MeleeStats.co, such as Monday Morning Marth and When's Melee. And if you love everything we do, Patreon.com/MeleeStats. And are you ready for a new one? A new plug that we've first time we're going to plug this. If you want to buy our merch is out. It's probably honestly easier to go to our Twitter and click on the link in the pinned tweet. But if you want to type it in, it's melee-stats.com. No, melee-stats.fourthwall.com, I think should take you there. Fourth Wall, FOURTHWALL. You can find that there. We've been working to get some merch out for a while, and I honestly hope that we continue to put stuff out, because we're already working on more merch in addition to what we have out there. So I hope to get to see more merch on people. Honestly, one of the best things of Shine was doing the booth and seeing people who I do not know wear our stuff. It was great to see patrons and friends buy our clothing, but walking around Shine and going, I don't know this guy. He's wearing a Melee Stats hat or he's wearing a Melee Stats shirt. One of the best feelings. And honestly, Edwin, we got to mention it. We're running on a late show, but this is like one of the best feelings I've gotten in Melee, was that we had our patron shop open before the shop went live to the public at the Mexican restaurant across the street from Shine. Great restaurant. There was a waiter who kept seeing people walk in with this certain this navy blue corduroy hat, and kept asking what was going on with it, and was trying to get one. And they're like, oh yeah, they're selling them in the DCU across the street. And he tried to get one so much that he even was willing to pay someone to go in and grab one and bring it back, only to find out that they were sold out, suffering from success, as we've said. So he went online and found us, and he subscribed to our Patreon to get the Patreon early link, and bought himself a hat, messaged us and said, I don't play video games that often. I really don't know what any of this is about, but I had to have this hat. You guys do great work. Dude, that's such an amazing feeling. I love to see that. And I hope that we can continue to put merch out that makes people feel that way.
Yeah, in a year from now, we're literally just going to be a fashion podcast and talking about merch and
Hey,
clothes.
maybe. And because, I've said this before, I think this is the last time I'm going to say this on the podcast for a bit, but I feel like it has to be said because our merch is live now. Pokimane will wear the hat. It is my dying,
It's gonna happen.
Honestly, you guys don't know what gears are moving behind the
It
scenes.
might happen in a month. Who knows?
Pokimane's gonna wear it. We don't. Yeah, it sounds crazy, but we're working hard. Axe, wonderful guest. Thank you so much. I know we kept you a little longer than we said, but honestly, this was an episode where I feel like we had a lot to talk about, and you did such a great job. I loved the insight that you had on Shine, on character choices, on rankings, even if it seemed like you're in the principal's office for some of it. I love to get to hear all of your thoughts on this, and I appreciate you so much as a first time guest. And who knows, if you're on the show 5 times, we are supposed to give you a jacket. So you have your first hole punched. I'd love to see a second one at some point in the near future.
All right, I'm on my way to get a jacket. I'm down. Well, thanks a lot for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for watching, everyone. So we are a bi-weekly podcast. I believe we're going to be taking the next week off, but don't fret. You've got something that you can watch instead. Four-Side Fights. Four-Side Fights is a sister podcast of sorts that's going to be running next week, so you can go check that out while we are on a little bit of a week break. And then we'll be back. We'll be back to talk about what happened at Riptide, what's going to happen at LTC, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It should be fun. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you guys soon. Peace.
See you guys.